We're going to reconvene our meeting for Monday, May 8th, 2017 of the Goodyear City Council. Would you please all stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you'll please remain standing for the invocation. Dear Lord, we ask for your guidance for this city and its leaders. We ask for guidance as we conclude the budget process in the next couple weeks in order to make sure that we make good, sound decisions that benefit and help our citizens live happy and productive lives. We ask that you protect those that protect us in the city, our police and fire. We ask that you protect our military who serves at home and abroad, and their families too, that give service just as the military does. We ask that you give us guidance and wisdom and grace. And we ask that your blessings for those loved ones that may not be with us or may be ill. And we ask for those in your name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, we are missing a couple people, as it's kind of obvious. So I would like to have a motion to excuse Mayor Lord, Councilmember Holman, and Councilmember Stipp. They will not be attending tonight's meeting. And can I have a motion and a second to excuse?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Campbell and a second from Councilmember Pizzillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Okay, we have 4 communication items for tonight. The first one is the St. Mary's Food Bank Alliance. They're going to present a Hunger Heroes plate to the city in honor of the support the city has provided to their nonprofit organization. Christina Plant, our neighborhood services coordinator, will introduce Mr. Martinez.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members. As you know, I facilitate Goodyear's community funding program, and the applications are available now. They're due on Sunday for those who are interested. One of our fiscal year 17, current fiscal year recipients is St. Mary's Food Bank, and as such, David Martinez III had reached out. He would like to recognize Goodyear with appreciation. David?
Thank you so much. Vice Mayor and council members, my name is David Martinez from St. Mary's Food Bank Alliance, and I've had the great pleasure of working with Christina and her team to help secure generous funding from the city of Goodyear to help those residents in the city that experience hunger. Unfortunately, in our state, too many go without, but thanks to the generous contribution of our community members and the city, we're able to meet that need as best as we can and continue to look for opportunities to partner with the faith and community here, but also just statewide. St. Mary's Food Bank Alliance is celebrating its 50th year this year, and we are still operating very similarly to our founder, John Van Hengel did. We're going out to grocery stores, collecting the excess product where he would deposit into the bank, and those who need it would withdraw it, just like we do money in a bank, and that's why we're called the food bank. It's actually the first food bank in the world, and I think it's something that we as Arizonans can be proud of, because even though it is there was a need that he saw, the fact that Arizonans came together and created modern-day food banking is something I think we can be proud of. We've grown a lot in the last 50 years, and the model that we operate is more of like a food distribution center. So when you're providing resources to St. Mary's Food Bank Alliance, you're actually helping nearly 500 other smaller food banks, food pantries, homeless shelters, domestic violence shelters, community centers, and whatnot. Last year, we distributed about 74 million pounds of food in Maricopa County and all of rural northern Arizona, which is our service territory, through, again, 500 agency partners. Here in the city of Goodyear, we're partnering with 6 agency partners, including All Faiths Community Service and Agua Fria Food Bank, just to name a couple, and distributed in 2016 with your generous support about 114,000 pounds. And we continue to, again, look for opportunities to partner. But we certainly look for those creative ways to partner and collaborate for resources, but we wouldn't be doing a good job as stewards of community contributions if we didn't provide a thank you as well. So When a community, a private donor donates to St. Mary's Food Bank, we're able to translate $1 into 7 meals. So this current fiscal year, the city of Goodyear generously contributed $5,000 to St. Mary's Food Bank Alliance, which means we were able to provide 35,000 meals into the city of Goodyear. Even though we're physically based in Phoenix, we are able to distribute food directly to the city. That's a lot of meals that end up on plates. So we like to present the city of Goodyear as a 2016 Hunger Hero with this Hunger Hero plate. Congratulations, and thank you for your support.
Okay. Oh, this will be easy.
And I'm sure if the mayor were here, she would gladly. Let's go up here.
Oh, that makes sense. You guys have done this before.
Wally, we gotta get Wally. Yeah, that probably works better. Don't go anywhere. I want to say something.
Okay, great. I'll leave the box here too.
Yeah, don't leave me with this. I don't want to break it. I don't want to give it to the mayor and say, sorry. Okay, who'd like to start? Councilmember Pizzillo.
Again, we appreciate all that you do, and I'm sure we're going through another round coming up, right, Wally? So, so again, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure you're going to hear it from the rest of us for everything you do in this community. I always say our volunteers are our strongest asset in this community. We have people stepping up every day doing a variety of tasks, and again, thank you very much.
Councilmember Campbell.
Well, I'd like to thank you on behalf of All Faith because I am a board member as Councilmember Sherilyn Holman, who is ill tonight. But we thank you for your support to us because we are able to provide food to Goodyear residents. And without your wonderful support, we wouldn't be able to do as much as we do. So thank you very, very much.
Councilmember Osborne.
David, I remember last year that when we attended your facility that you were having a luncheon there and really showing us everything that was going on there. And, you know, I did not realize that food banks started here, and that's something really unique and something to be proud of. But I also, seeing your campus and the efficiency and the incredible amount of work that's being done there, and to Councilmember Pizzillo's comments, the volunteers that not only are receiving the help, but are giving back to be part of the full organization. That's really awesome. And so thank you for everything you do and for your organization. Appreciate it.
And I'd also like to thank you. I attended the lunch with Councilmember Osborne last year, and it was very eye-opening to see how large of an operation it is, and the staff and the volunteers and the training you do and everything. And to the public, it's such a great worthy cause. And I'll just give the plug. I know sometimes in the summertime, it's harder to get food, but there's still the need there. So I'm so glad we can help because a lot of people think about it at the holidays. But I want people to remember summer is coming up, and we really need to make sure the bank doesn't go low. So I want to thank you so much for everything you do for the citizens.
Pleasure. Thanks for that plug.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Okay, our next item is it's a communication item, and in recognizing the Millennium High School art teacher Richard Gross and his photo students for their accomplishments of completing the artwork currently on display at the City Hall, and Guyleen Alansky, Arts and Culture Coordinator, will present with Laura Kano, our Chairman of the Art and Culture Committee.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us here this evening. We are here to recognize the Millennium High School creative team. We were very fortunate to be able to connect with teacher Richard Gross, art educator from Millennium High School, who has just an amazing, talented group of photo students. We gave them one word. We said, we need artwork about technology. And they were able to create 7 pieces of amazing artwork that's permanently on display on the 2nd floor at City Hall that really really encapsulates technology and really demonstrated all of the unique methods in which they could demonstrate technology in their photographic methods. We also were able to host an artist reception for them on April 13th. Mayor Lord was in attendance, our arts and culture commissioners, Deputy City Manager Dan Cotterman. We had board members from the Agua Fria Union High School District that came over, all to celebrate with these artists and their families and Mr. Gross and for what these students were able to complete. At this time, I would like to announce the names of the students. We only have 2 students here this evening. I am told it was Senior Ditch Day that was a surprise, and so I'm not thinking a whole lot of them are showing up. But then I was told that some of them may be studying for finals, so they may be doing that. But I'm thinking Senior Ditch Day may have taken precedence over that. As I announce the names, though, I would like to ask our attendees here this evening to come up to accept a award of recognition from us. So first, Mr. Richard Gross. Thank you for working with us on this project, Mr. Gross. Your students were amazing, and you were a great teacher leader for them. So thank you. We also have Emily Cox with us this evening. And Alexis Pudwill. I would like to read off the names of the other students that participated because they, with them not being able to be here tonight, they were very instrumental in making this project happen. So all the students' names are James Beasley, Jason Beck, Sienna Brooks, Connor Burnett, Caden Fernandez, Madeline Lau, Matthew Masterson, Eric Stiles, Camila Villapando, Jasmine Corsello, Olivia Garrison, Alexis Kerfine, and Denise Kybell. And so we appreciate their efforts as well, and we'll send their certificate with their art teacher back to school for them.
Well, don't go anywhere. Oh,
at this time, I conclude my presentation, and I'd like to open it up so you can recognize them.
Okay, well, you want to start with Councilmember Pizzillo again?
Again, thank you for all your efforts. It beautifies City Hall on the second floor when you bring all that up. And again, encouraging art, I think, is very important. I have a granddaughter who's along that path, too, and very proud of some of the work she does. So, again, I think art is very important of our lives. So, again, thank you.
Councilmember Campbell?
Well, we are enjoying the display, so thank you all very much. It's all very creative. Some of it I wasn't even sure how you could even do it, but thank you so much.
Mr. Gross, I have to tell you, as a Tiger mom, I always appreciate, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it, I love Millennium, and I'm so thankful that we have great teachers, not only in our city, but at that school, so I really do appreciate it. And you know what, artists, great job. You should always realize that everything that you do in art is adding to your community, and it's highlighting things for us, so we really appreciate it. Thank you.
And I just want to echo that as well. And I know the mayor would too, and the council members that aren't present today for illness, that, when we see art in our community, it's like, this is like our home, our community is like our house. And when you put the art, it just brightens it up and makes it more pleasant and beautiful. And you guys just do an absolutely wonderful job. So thank you all. And thank you for being such a wonderful teacher. And we would love to have you take a picture. Everybody back over.
Wally, do you want to lay down on the ground like the other one did?
Congratulations. I love it. That's where I went to school, Thunderbird. I knew you looked familiar. I was many years ago, too. Okay, now we're going to move on to our next item. The next communication item is an update by Mr. Les Myers on the Nature Conservatory's recent activities and status. Lauren Valencia, the assistant to the mayor, will introduce.
Vice Mayor and council members, tonight we have a few special guests. We have Les Myers here with us as Vice Mayor shared. We also have Mayor Jackie Meck from the city of Buckeye, as many of us know.
Welcome.
And we have Todd Hornback here with us also. So they're just going to share a little bit with you about the organization and some updates, and then we'll have a little bit of discussion afterwards. So.
Thanks, Lauren. Good evening.
Good evening.
Vice Mayor, council members, and city officials. Thank you for the opportunity for us to come and present the White Tank Mountains Conservancy. I think we'll lead off with a video. I might have to change up a little bit with our assistant in the back there. If we could run that video first, it'd be great. We got a little change up instead of doing the. Oh, okay, she can do it. We're going to do a PowerPoint. We're going to shorten it up a little so you can ask questions.
We did a dry run last week, so let's see if we can.
Just like we practiced
Yep.
the other day,
Oh.
right?
I'll check in the back real quick.
Well, in the meantime, technology never fails to challenge us, I'm telling you. But I'll briefly tell you, the mayor and Todd, the three of us have been working. They're the co-founders of this conservancy. And Wally knows it. We've been talking to all of you about this. We've been out talking to the other cities too. And we're here tonight to ask you to consider to become part of the White Tank Mountains Conservancy. And yeah, and let's do that. I'll just bring up Jackie Meck, and you can talk further till we get this technology fixed.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. My name's Jackie Meck. I'm mayor of City of Buckeye, and I'm here tonight as a co-chair of the White Tank Mountains Conservancy Trust. That's the White Tank Mountains. Are they close to you? Yes, they are. They're the western gateway to the Valley of the Sun, in my opinion. What we're hoping to accomplish by what we're doing is to provide for the future, our younger generations, a pristine mountain that's not going to have any houses or homes on it. It will be parks. It'll be areas for horseback as well as trails. We, the City of Buckeye, have 8,700-acre park that's in the White Tank Mountains. Last year, there was 206,000 people went through it. North of us joins us is the Maricopa County Park. The two of them together have about 45 miles of trails. We want to extend that all the way up to Bell Road, so from I-10 to Bell Road. So that's what we want to tell you about tonight. Obviously, it will create open space that we can preserve for the future. We have a wilderness corridors that we're working on. There's a lot of deer and javelina, other animals that are in that area that we want to preserve. So on top of all this, these gentlemen with me, Todd Hornback is the co-chair. We started this quite some time ago. We're going to all the West Valley cities. My hope is that the West Valley cities will join together and be strong in these mountains. We need to preserve them. So I would like to introduce Todd Hornback. He is my co-chair. Thank you for having us.
Madam Chair, members of the council, good evening. Thank you so much for having us back. I wanted to just take a minute. I know we don't have a lot of time and there's a lot to share, but I would like to just kind of walk you through an overview of what do conservancies actually do, and then hopefully we'll have that video up in the end. So the first thing that we did when we looked to start this conservancy here in the West Valley was not reinvent the wheel. We drove straight over to Scottsdale and started talking with our friends at the Mcdowell Sonoran Conservancy. In fact, they were the ones who encouraged us to consider a conservancy which has a broader mission than simply a public land trust or a preserve. And I'll share what that mission looks like in a moment. So we're not flying blind here, even though this is the first attempt to create a conservancy of this scale in the West Valley. We have a lot of regional partners that we're working with. We started out with a small core group of individuals that formed our incorporating board from the Sonoran Institute, my company, DMB, of course, Mayor Meck City, Maricopa County Parks and Rec, R.J. Cardin is on our board. Westmark has been at the table all along because, as we know, this is a huge economic development driver, a tourism driver, and so they have an interest, of course. And then lastly, the Central Arizona Conservation Alliance. They're kind of our content experts. They're the environmental scientists that bring the content and the programming opportunities to the table. So this is what our organization looks like today. We're a very low-cost, high-impact organization. Les is our only staff member. We have offices in Verrado, but everything else is done through collaboration and volunteerism. And so, let's go backwards now. Here we go. So this is the region that Mayor Meck was referring to, and this is really not the greatest map because there's a lot of the ecosystem that extends west of the region. But we wanted to put this map up just to give you an indication that this is not just a city, a local city project. This really does need to be a large-scale regional effort. The mountain range is massive, and it's important to all of us here in the West Valley. And as such, municipalities such as yours are showing up and participating early on as charter members. Today we have the City of Buckeye, the City of Surprise, the City of Peoria, and the Town of Youngtown are all in as charter members. And at some point, we'd like to ask for your consideration to do the same. We're trying to raise $1 million in our first 3 years, and I'm very proud to report that we're already about halfway there. And so our first year strategy was our charter membership program. We're looking to secure about $350,000 in startup capital, and we've already surpassed that. We're at about $400,000. So in addition to those municipalities that I mentioned to you, we have other companies that are on board, including DMB and Epcor Water, and D.R. Horton Homes is also involved. Right now we have a grant out to a local foundation that works in the environmental space, and so we're waiting to hear back. That's about a $225,000 grant. It's a very comprehensive proposal, so if they're not interested in investing, we'll continue to shop that around to other local foundations. And then year 3 will be all types of diversified revenue, just like any other nonprofit would need to do. We're going to have events and individual giving campaigns and the like. And so we're pretty confident that we're going to reach our march to $1 million to get this thing launched. And as I reported, in just about a year and a half, already being halfway there gives us a lot of confidence to keep going. So this is what a conservancy does, and this is in your this brochure that we gave to you as well, and I'll just give you just a quick sense. So the first thing we want to do, and Mayor Meck alluded to this, we want to make sure that regional planning exists. So one of the things that Conservancy will do will be a convener, collaborator, and facilitator of a regional conversation about the protection of natural habitats and ecosystems. And there's a lot of players. You have county, state, and federal municipal oversight. You have local landowners, you have conservation groups, and so it's important that we bring everybody to the table to have a regional conversation. It doesn't seem like much, but just a regional plan for trails, would be an important consideration so that, when property owner changes, the trail system doesn't necessarily change. So R.J. Cardin leads that for us, the Director of County Parks and Rec. We have a stewardship program. We already have over 80 volunteers that are signed up, registered, trained and oriented in all kinds of opportunities like building trails, maintaining trails, citizen science. We have a budding botanist program for young people that are interested in environmental science. And so we can only imagine that steward program will grow into the hundreds and, dare I say, thousands of volunteers one day. We intend to have a pretty robust advocacy and public policy agenda because part of the effort to create open space, of course, has to deal with local and state and federal regulations around open space and 404 protected washes and density counts and everything in between. And so Ian Dowdy from the Sonoran Institute is the chair of our advocacy and public policy group. We have a research and restoration arm that's looking again at citizen science and those budding botanist programs. It's a very ambitious undertaking, but we intend to count every single living thing out there and create an asset inventory for the region so that we know what we're dealing with. So if there is development that occurs, we can go back and revegetate with native species and not bring invasive species into the region. So our research and restoration project partnered with Desert Botanical Garden is obviously a huge undertaking. And this is something that we think would interest all of our municipalities and our region at large to really position this as a tourism and public attraction driver. Thousands upon thousands of people visit the White Tank Mountain Range. And that's without even really trying to promote it in a robust way. So if we can continue to partner with Westmark and other marketing and promotional institutions, including your own, we really think we can position this as an important asset for the region. And then lastly is, community outreach and education. We're talking to anyone and everyone who will listen, from Rotaries to Kiwanis to PTAs, and increasingly will be in the classroom so that we can start to train and educate young people on the great Sonoran Desert and make sure that they're joining in our effort, generation over generation to protect this beautiful, beautiful place. So again, lots of volunteer opportunities, and there's just kind of a listing of a bunch of them. And here's our website, WTMCconservancy.org. That was, believe it or not, the short version of a very long story. That's the fastest I've ever done it. So thank you for listening. It's a very ambitious but totally doable initiative, and we're gaining all the traction and all the right players. And we'd love to ask or answer any questions you may have tonight, and then continue the conversation with the City of Goodyear. Hopefully you're interested in partnering with us to bring this to fruition. Thank you.
Can council ask questions? That's okay. Okay, well, thank you very much. I think we'll start to any questions. Joe?
I'm sorry. I think you got great efforts going on here because that's a beautiful part of this side of the valley. So I wish you well on accomplishing those. I suspect we'll hear more from our mayor on how we can participate in it, because it seems to me it's going to be a major effort. You got state, you got federal, you got county. Make sure everybody's on the same page, and that you get that that you're able to use that for future generations. So I know my son himself likes over there in your Skyline Park. He does that a lot. Does a lot of hiking over there. A lot of his friends go over there. I'm sure that gets used a lot. And if this area itself becomes in that part, I think you're going to get a lot of people drawing into that neighborhood. And I agree. Houses on those mountains just won't do it. So I wish well, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell?
Well, thank you, Todd, for coming, and Mayor Meck and Les. I've been waiting for y'all to come. I've been talking to y'all for 6 months or longer about coming to pitch Goodyear. I was at the ribbon cutting ceremony for the White Tanks Park and Library, and I saw then that we needed to preserve that area at all costs. It's interesting to see how far you have come. You've been so successful, and we're very proud and happy for you. It's important for us to help you conserve this for future generations because, as you said, the White Tanks is such an important part of the West Valley, even though right up against the tanks are all the unincorporated areas. But we have an awful lot of friends that live over there in Waddell and other areas that I won't mention. But we need to work together. I was helpful with the Friends of the Library for the White Tanks to tell them how to start, since I had already started our Friends of the Library. But the interesting thing about how it came to be is by putting the library where it did, it's just such a jewel.
Oh,
and if any of you have not been to that library, you really need to go. It is the most beautiful, nature-friendly library that I have ever seen, and I have visited an awful lot of them. But it is just beautiful. But we wish you much success. I hope that our city is in a position that we can help support your organization. And I just want to thank y'all for putting the Conservancy in place, and thank you for not reinventing the wheel. Because only by having a Conservancy can we keep this together for the rest, forever. Because otherwise, we're going to lose that area. Money talks, and developers love to develop up there. And it is beautiful, but we need to save it. So thank you very much.
Councilmember Osborne?
Well, Todd, I have to tell you, my family's been here since the 1800s. And Arizona means a lot to me. And I actually joke around, and our council knows how I feel about the environment. And I always say, hey, I will hug a cactus because, you know, I do believe, I do believe in protecting our lands. And I thank you for taking on, you know, this great task, because it is something that we as a region and a community need to look at. I mean, in our own city, obviously we have the Estrellas. And, you know, years ago, I went from planning and zoning to this council, and in my mind, I wanted a hillside ordinance because I freak out when I see those houses going up the sides of hills. And there's places for it, and there's places not. And so for the fact that we're able to look at the white tanks and start what you've done now with the full process of conserving it, you know, I'm certainly behind you, and I know that as a council, this is something that for the city we'll have to talk about and discuss. But you know, each one of us on a personal level, I'll speak for myself. You know, certainly reach out to me, and it's something that I'd be happy to do my share with you. And but I thank you. I really do believe that. What they've done in Scottsdale, what they've done in other areas of this state, we can do here. And I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Thank you.
And I'll just follow up. First of all, I know the mayor, she's ill and was unable to come, but she would really thank you for coming. And I know that's a passion of hers too, is conservation. And for myself, I haven't been out here since the 1800s, but
well, I haven't either. At least it was the 1900s.
But we moved out here in 1973, and I've seen parts of the valley, just general, where they haven't conserved. Right. And there are places for houses, and there are places where they don't need to go. And I echo what Councilmember Osborne said. Reach out to me. I'll be more than happy. I hope this is something that, you know, we can talk to our city manager, and we can, when the mayor is back, and we can get on board as well, because I think it's really important, because we only get one chance to get this right. You can't go back once there's houses there, once there's roads there. You can't change it. So we need to make sure that we get this right, and we want to be part of getting it right. And for my children's children's children. Right. And then they can say our family's been here since 1973.
I will hug a cactus.
Once. Once. So I do want to thank you. I want to thank you, Les, and I want to thank the mayor for coming, because this is a really important issue, and it's a West Valley issue. Actually, it's a Valley issue.
Absolutely.
Because we're growing so fast that we need to save those resources. So thank you so much.
Thank
we look
you
forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.
And I think this item actually dovetails into the last communication item. It's a proclamation for Kids to Parks Day to be held on May 20th at the Goodyear Community Park. And Michael Beadle, the recreation specialist, will present, and then I'll read the proclamation.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight. We're very excited to tell you about an event we're going to be a part of. Again, this year we've been involved with it for several years, but it's National Kids to Parks Day. To give you a little context, a little scale for this event, it's a national grassroots event that over 730,000 youth in the U.S. participated last year. 420 mayors and 23 governors proclaimed last year to support the National Kids to Park Day. So it's a really wonderful, lighthearted, fun event to engage kids, engage families, engage our community, to get them back into the parks, to get them out from behind the screens and get them back into the parks, exploring the wild, exploring the wilderness, and exploring, like the last presentation was, exploring our national parks, our regional parks, and even our local parks like Foothills Community Park and Goodyear Community Park, and see all the amenities we have there as well. So it's a really fun event for us to be a part of every year. We're supporting this national movement by holding our own local event. So on May 20th from 8 to 10 a.m., we'd like to invite everyone out to Goodyear Community Park. We will be having a ton of different activities. We'll be having a lot of water out there because it's going to be warm. So a lot of our activities will be around water, but we'll have different opportunities for water balloon tosses and relays and things. Another cool twist on the event this year, is we're working with Guyleen over in Arts and Culture, and we have sandcastles in the park, a part of the Art in the Park series. We'll be coming to partner with the Kids to Park Stay. So we'll have different stations set up, and kids will be able to build sandcastles, build sand sculptures. I don't think I can build anything other than a castle, so other people can build sculptures and very cool things in the sand. But it'll be just a great day to be excited and be engaged in our parks and engage with the community. So we're very excited about all of that. And without further ado, we would like to respectfully request the Vice Mayor read the proclamation in support of the event.
Okay, whereas on May 20th, 2017 is the 7th Kids to Park Day organized and launched by the National Park Trust. And whereas Kids to Park Day empowers kids and encourages family to get outdoors and visit America's parks. And whereas it is important to introduce a new generation to our nation's parks because of the decline in park attendance over the last decades. That's sad. And whereas we should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle to combat the issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, I'm going to try that one, hypertension, and high cholesterol. And whereas Kids to Park Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse groups of participants, and whereas Kids to Park Days will broaden children's appreciation for nature and the outdoors. Now, therefore, be resolved that I, Vice Mayor Sherry Loretano, on behalf of our Mayor, Georgia Lord, of the City of Goodyear, Arizona, do proclaim to participate in Kids to Parks Day. I urge residents of Goodyear to make time on May 20th to take the children in their lives to a neighborhood, state, or national park given under my hand in these free United States on the 8th day of May, 2017, and to which I have caused the seal of the City of Goodyear to be affixed and made this proclamation public. So it's National Kids on Park Day.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now is the time for citizens who would like to address the City Council on any non-agenda items. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Okay, then we will move on to the consent agenda. Will the city clerk please read consent agenda items 6.1 to 6.3 by title only?
Item 6.1, approve draft minutes of a regular meeting held on March 27, 2017, and a regular meeting and a special meeting held on April 10, 2017. Item 6.2, authorize the mayor or designee to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the state of Arizona, acting by and through its Department of Transportation, to establish responsibility for funding, purchasing, installing, and maintaining fiber optic conduit, cable, and equipment along Elwood Street from Cotton Lane to Estrella Parkway, Cotton Lane from Estrella Parkway to Lower Buckeye Road, Estrella Parkway from Elliott Road to Cotton Lane, and Elliott Road from San Gabriel Drive to Estrella Parkway in Goodyear. Item 6.3, approve the final plat for EMR parcel 7.5, subject to stipulations.
Does anyone from the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? See none. Does anyone on the council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Vice Mayor, I have a question for 6.2, please.
Just a question?
Just a question.
Okay.
So, Rebecca, can you answer that, do you think? Maybe? It's not going to be too hard. My question is, when we complete this, how much is left in the city that we need to still do fiber optic? I know we don't have the whole city done yet, and we're doing them in spurts and as money is available. So do we know what the percentage is of completion if we do this one, or do we have any idea?
So, Vice Mayor and Council Member, this will complete what we have submitted to MAG. So everything that we had planned to do, however, we can get back with what isn't connected that we would in the future be able to plan for connection.
Okay, I thought this was the tail end of what we had put forward. So are we in the process of identifying other areas in our city that we need fiber optic and trying to get a plan to move forward with MAG on that? I know if we don't have it to them, then we can't get the funding.
Absolutely, and that's what we're going to put together for the next series that we would put in. But as of right now, this completes the series we had.
Okay, do you know how long it's going to take us to get a series put together and forwarded to MAG? Will it be this year in 2017, do you think?
We'll get back with you on that because it's going to be based on their next call for projects.
Okay, thank you. That's the only question I have. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, can I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Pizzillo made the motion and a second by Councilmember Osborne. May I have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Loretano?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Okay, we're going to move on to the business agenda. The first item on the business agenda is to consider appointing a police representative to the Police Public Safety Personnel Retirement Board. Maureen Scott, our city clerk, will present.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Loretano and council members. The item before you is to consider the appointment of Jason Maddie to the Police Public Safety Personnel Retirement Board. And pursuant to the Arizona Revised Statutes, a secret ballot election with the sworn members has to be held in order to place a sworn member on the board. And the police department conducted an election with their sworn members, and there was 102 members qualified to vote and 61 members submitted secret ballots. Police Detective Jason Maddie received the highest number of votes. The terms are for 4 years, and there are no term limits on this board. And thank you for your time, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Would anyone from the audience like to speak? Seeing none. Can I have a motion and a second to appoint Jason Maddie as the Police Public Safety Personnel Representative to the Police Public Safety Personnel Retirement Board for a 4-year term ending May 31st, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Pizzillo and a second by Councilmember Campbell. Open for council discussion? Yes.
Congratulations.
Anybody else?
Oh, so did he get 50 plus 1? Oh, congratulations. Congratulations.
You got 100%. Councilmember? No. I think we all say congratulations. And then we will all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Congratulations. Oh, you'll now read the oath. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Please hold up your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
Jason Maddie.
Do solemnly affirm
Do solemnly affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the state of Arizona,
of the state of Arizona,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and defend them
and defend them
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of Police Public Safety Personnel Retirement Board member, Police PSRS member,
PSRS member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So I do affirm.
So I do.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
It's got 3 with it. Oh, okay, we're going to move on to business item 7.2. The next item on the business is a public hearing to consider a request for a planned area development amendment to amend the Wood Corporate Campus in Ballpark Village final planned area development and design guidelines. We're going to open the public hearing, and Karen Craver, the planner, will present.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good evening, Council.
Ballpark Village, of course, is the ballpark and the surrounding future development parcels. And Wood Corporate Campus is the development complexes for the Reds and the Indians and the undeveloped property to the west of that. The original Wood Corporate Campus development plan is on the screen before you. And in addition to the development complexes, it included the flex industrial buildings, much like we have here, as well as office buildings going up to 9 stories, but there was no residential development. Community Southwest purchased the properties in red in 2014, and just last year submitted a PAD amendment to us. The primary change is to take that flex industrial and office properties and change them to residential. The commercial and industrial further to the south in the red will remain as commercial industrial, and the mixed use that they own up by the ballpark will remain. This is a proposed residential lotting plan for the property across from the development complexes. As you can see, it will, by the nature of the lotting, create some very dense development, which is, of course, what we want around the ballpark. This is their landscape plan. You can see a lot of street trees. The entry coming in off of Estrella Parkway is a lovely boulevard. Tree line goes right into the amenities package at the center of the development. And again, a tree-lined entry coming off of Wood. This is the main amenity area plan. It's about 2.5 acres. It has a lot of turf area to it, swimming pool, ramadas, spa, different types of play courts. And it will be identified with these types of features. And as you can see, they're very much like the ballpark and the development complexes. We asked Community Southwest to replicate what the city had created with the ballpark and the development complexes, and we think they did a great job of that in terms of materials and colors and design style. This is the pedestrian circulation plan. It connects that 2.5 acre central amenity area to 2 other areas that will total more than 5 acres, which is what is required for neighborhood development, neighborhood park development. And then the red asterisks that you see are exercise stations that these pedestrian trails will connect to. So a lot happening here in this project. Again, these are the entry monument signages, sign package, very much in keeping with the ballpark and the development complexes, and we really appreciate that they've done this for us. These are architectural design elements that they will be focused on in terms of their design guidelines. And as you can see, this is a product that's very different than our normal single-family residential developments. And Community Southwest has actually created a scorecard, per se, that we can utilize with the residential developers when they come in, that, you know, they'll get 5 points for this type of light fixture, but they'll get 10 points for a flat roof and 15 points for standing seam roof. It's a way for us to say to the home builders, you have to get 65 points total, and here's what you have to do to get those points. So it really gives us the ability to work well with the home builders when they come in. This was the original concept plan for Ballpark Village. And in the original PAD, there must have been 40 million uses listed that were permitted. It was, you know, like an apparel store was different than an art supply store, was different than another store. And we asked Community Southwest to consolidate all those uses into categories for us, again, to make it much more easy for us to work with the developers. And lo and behold, we took all those stores and they're now called retail. So we're appreciative of that. In the revised permitted use list, there was also a proposal to allow drive-throughs in Ballpark Village. Staff was not supportive of that idea. We were concerned about the compatibility of your typical drive-through business in the ballpark, the crown jewel of the city. But because we knew that perhaps the Planning and Zoning Commission would like to have a drive-through there, we suggested some location and design criteria to them should they want to allow the drive-throughs. And there was a great deal of discussion at the P&Z meeting about the appropriateness of a drive-through. But after taking a look at the list we provided and tweaking it just a bit, including restricting the business itself so that it's not a Taco Bell, it's not a McDonald's, it has to be a business whose primary product is coffee, tea, or other beverages. So we have taken the direction of the P&Z and passed that on to you, and those criteria are in the ordinance for you to adopt tonight, should you choose. And that was why the vote turned out to be 4-2. It was only based on the discussion of the drive-through. They were wholeheartedly supportive of all that residential development that's being done. And staff is also very supportive of the residential. We appreciate the design guidelines. We think that they will create a housing product there that we're looking for at the ballpark, something different, something really cool that you don't see elsewhere. And we are recommending council's approval.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Would anyone in the audience like to speak? Mr. Bull is making his way to the stand.
See him coming.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, members of the council. Ed Bull, 702 East Osborne. Mike Kern and Michael Markakis are here with me on behalf of Community Southwest. We agree with everything Karen just said. If we have a PowerPoint, if you'd like to see it, it's intended to supplement but not duplicate Karen's PowerPoint. But if you're comfortable with the recommendations and the stipulations that are before you, so are we. I don't need to hear myself talk, and if you don't need a presentation, I will be happy to sit down, or we can go through our PowerPoint, whichever you'd prefer.
Everyone okay? All righty, then I think you're off the hook.
I will sit down.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. And will the city clerk please read resolution 17.1798 by title only?
Adopt resolution number 17-1798, declaring as a public record that certain document filed with the city clerk entitled The Ballpark Village and Ballpark Village South Restated and Amended Final Planned Area Development dated April 28, 2017.
And can I have a motion and a second?
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Campbell and a second by Councilmember Osborne. Open for council discussion. Councilmember Osborne.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming tonight. And just for the public, you know, we actually did have a meeting to discuss these prior to you coming this evening. And so I don't have any further questions, but just to let the public know that, you know, I think it's exciting that in Goodyear, as things evolve over the years, we are open enough to look at change. And we've realized over the years that density, especially in an area such as the ballpark, is something that thrives with it being higher density. And so if that means residential along with office, along with hotels, all those kinds of items together really, I think, will help us be successful. And on the drive-through issue, you know, I truly appreciate planning and zoning looking at that, really considering, you know, what does it mean to this area? And as a business, I appreciate that we've got these very strong design guidelines. And I think that I give staff a lot of credit for truly looking at what's important to our city and to, as you say, our crown jewel, the ballpark. But as a business, I do think that since we've tailored it to be something of coffee and beverage type of facility, a drive-through is what's going to help it be successful for the off times. And so I think that that's really critical for whatever business that's going to be. So I do approve this. I think it's exciting that you've the developers put in elements of the ballpark and the clubhouses, everything else, all, you know, bringing it into an area that you see was done on purpose in the way that it was designed. So thank you very much.
Councilmember Campbell?
Well, I'd like to thank you for bringing it forward, and especially with the pictures of a possible design of the homes to make it so unique. We're going to have an area in Goodyear like no other area in Goodyear, and it's really going to be fun to see it. It's going to be eclectic, and we're going to enjoy it. And I agree with Councilmember Osborne about the drive-through part. Today everybody is in a hurry, and everybody wants to drive through whatever it is and pick up whatever it is, whether it's your dry cleaning or Dutch Brothers or whatever. So thank you, because I think by doing that, if we're successful in getting a business in the area where we are hopeful, it will bring more life to that part of the ballpark area, and that's what we need to do. So thank you very much. We appreciate you coming forward to us, and we look forward to seeing it get off the ground quickly.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Just to follow up what Councilmember Osborne had mentioned, for the public, we did get a previous presentation. And to be honest with you, I'm excited the fact that we're getting some development around the ballpark and of a quality that stands up to our crown jewel. So, I count on the developer and city staff to ensure the final product, because we get a lot of drawings, meets that standards. And I'm sure with Mr. Bull and co. that will happen. So again, getting that jump started, I think will be of a tremendous help to get that ballpark area development going. So again, thank you.
And I just want to echo, because so the city, the residents know that we did have several meetings. And in fact, what was really great about this project is the developer listened to what our concerns were and what our thoughts were about this area, and really took it to heart and came back, because we had several different conversations with them. And I think that's great. And our staff worked absolutely great, because the staff, Karen, and you guys know what we're looking for in that area. I think this will be an absolutely wonderful addition. I agree with Councilmember Osborne exactly with the drive-through. I have absolutely no problem from talking where it's going to be positioned, what the stipulations are on it. I think that'll actually be a welcome addition. And to that neighborhood, those existing houses as well, I think they'll be a great community asset for there. So I am totally for that, and I'm really hope to get that density going in that area sooner rather than later. So having said that, can I have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Loretano?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
And we have a companion. So will the city clerk please read ordinance 17-1347 by title only?
Adopt ordinance number 17-1347, conditionally rezoning approximately 254.5 gross acres located on the east side of Estrella Parkway from north of West Goodyear Boulevard south to the intersection of Estrella Parkway and Bullard Avenue by amending the Wood Corporate Campus and Ballpark Village final planned area development and design guidelines to amend zoning categories, permitted uses, development standards, and design guidelines, amending the zoning map of the city of Goodyear, providing for corrections, severability, and effective date and penalties.
And can I have a motion and a second for that one?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Osborne and a second from Councilmember Campbell. Open for council discussion? I don't think we have any further discussion, so can we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Loretano?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you very much, and welcome to Goodyear. Okay, would people like a break now, or you want to do one more? One more?
Guess we could do one more.
We got a long list.
Okay.
Now we're going to head on to 7.3. The next item on the business agenda is a public hearing to consider a special use permit to allow a wireless communication facility. We're going to open the public hearing, and Katie Wilkin, our planning manager, will present.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, members of the council. As stated, this is a request for a special use permit to allow a cell tower in the area of Goodyear known as Mobile. The proposed location is along State Route 238, about a half mile west of the Mobile Elementary School. All new cell towers or wireless communication facilities do require special use permit. The proposed tower is 195 feet tall. This is much taller than we normally see. There are studies which the applicant could go into more detail if you wish that determine the need for the height. And because of the development status of the area, this height of tower is required to serve the needs of the area. Typically, the zoning ordinance requires that a cell tower be stealth in nature and that there would be a block wall surrounding the ground equipment. However, because of the development of the area, staff is recommending approval with a chain link fence and the tower being made of metal and looking like a cell tower. Because of the height, it would be difficult to do a monopalm that's 190 feet tall. However, because of that, we did put a stipulation that the special use permit will be good for a period of 30 years. So at that time, we could come back and look at the development status of the area and see if 195 feet is still needed, and also look at the surrounding area and see if a different design. Also in 30 years, my guess would be cell phone technology will be completely different, and who knows what we will need. It's also important to note that the zoning ordinance requires setbacks be provided, 1 foot of setback for every 1 foot of height, and the setbacks proposed are 124 feet and 159 feet. And if we go back to this exhibit, that red circle is that 195-foot area. And the purpose of that is so that if the cell tower fell over, it would fall over on its own property. This cell tower has been designed so that if it were to fail, it would collapse in on itself. And most of the area is within right-of-way, and there's a tiny bit, as you can see by this area, that extends into this private property and this private property, which are part of that Amaranth Master Plan community. And this area is in the further phases of that development. And we also notified the property owner and didn't hear any questions or objections. So, and a detailed site plan showing those setbacks was provided with your packet. And this is a photo simulation that was also provided in the packet that shows it is a significantly sized structure. But again, it's needed to serve the area. So with that, staff does recommend approval of the special use permit subject to the recommended stipulations. I'm happy to answer any questions. The applicant is also available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Would anybody from the audience like to speak? Seeing none? Oh, I have to close the public hearing. And can I have a motion and a second to approve a special use permit to allow the installation of the proposed wireless communication facility, WCF, to include a 190-foot tall self-supporting tower and support equipment on SR 238, subject to stipulations?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Pizzillo, a second by Councilmember Osborne. Open for council discussion. Councilmember Pizzillo?
Just a general question because of the height. Planes or things along that, is there a safety feature that's got to be because of the height to make sure anything flying in that area doesn't end up hitting it?
Thank you, Vice Mayor, Council Member. I am not sure of that answer, and so I'd ask if the applicant could come in.
Here you come.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members. So,
Please state your name.
Yourself. Oh, sorry. Daniel Dean, B&T Group for Parallel Infrastructure Towers. Thank you. The height of the tower is, the reason why it's so high is because the higher the tower, the wider the coverage. And basically out there in this area, the coverage is non-existent. So as far as FAA, if it's over 199 feet, then it requires lighting. Otherwise, it doesn't. That's why it's at 195.
So it's 4 feet under the requirement.
Yep.
Okay.
Councilmember Osborne?
Okay, so are you going to ask that?
You can ask that.
So a couple questions. Looking at the aerial photo, maybe I'm not looking at this right, but it looks like it's right smack in between two roadways. Is that accurate, or what is that?
It is not. It
Okay,
looks
what
like
is
it's,
it?
Just
it looks
one
like it's in
road.
the median, but it's actually in a railroad right of way.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's the railroad in the road.
And the landing area for Lufthansa and the training and all the flight paths, I know that's only 4 feet, but that's not going to be a concern?
No, not at all. We did a FAA determination. It came back negative.
I see. Okay.
And we could provide that if you want that.
Okay. Well, there's nothing stealth about this, so I understand it not being a monopalm. I get it. And I appreciate that it's going to have coverage out there, because I can see how, that we've had spotty issues just in Estrella, so I can even imagine that, over there it's even harder. So I do appreciate that. And if, 30 years, I mean, the chain link fence doesn't thrill me. If we were to say 15 years, we'd relook at that. It would make me feel more comfortable. But, right now it's hard to say what can be down there in who knows when. So I guess really that's about all I have. Thanks.
Councilmember Campbell?
Well, I've got a couple of questions for you and for Katie. So, Katie, what is our normal limit? Is it 65 feet for the normal cell tower in our design guidelines?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. We don't have a height limit for a cell tower. Typically, they're about 65 feet is what we see in this area of Goodyear.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, my question to the applicant is, I'm not real thrilled about the chain link fence either. Are you planning to put razor wire over the top, or how are you going to protect that? Because there have been incidents out there that you need to have that protected.
Yeah, it's the very top is going to have a 3-strand barbed wire on there. It's about 6 feet tall, so it's pretty hard to get over.
All right, and the perimeter of the fence will be far enough away that we can't have any graffiti through the fence or on your stationary component.
Well, it will be locked, and only the techs will be able to get in there.
Okay.
And it is monitored, by the way, too.
Okay. I'm curious to why you picked that spot, because in Mobile, we don't have very many people. We don't even know how many people we have, but it's under 100 or so, or less, or 50 or 40.
Looking towards the future.
So are you looking to provide coverage to Maricopa and to Gila Bend? Because certainly not to Mobile.
Well, the coverage issue is with Mobile. For T-Mobile, there's hardly any coverage out there.
Well, there's hardly
I myself
any
did
people.
Sprint about 10 years ago in that very same
Yeah.
spot. Yeah. But it's the primary objective is to provide coverage for people that are traveling along that highway.
Oh, on 238?
Yeah.
Will your coverage extend to the Gila Bend area?
I'm not quite sure. It depends on the type of antenna they use.
Okay.
Typically, for that type of tower, the range is 7.5 miles to 10 miles.
And Gila Bend's about 30.
But then you also got to think that it must connect with another tower that's closer in order to hand off the signal as you drive.
Right. I know there's one in Maricopa. So obviously your signal will go to Maricopa, because then Maricopa covers part of Interstate 10.
Maricopa covers part of Interstate 10?
No, Maricopa's cell coverage hits another one at Interstate 10. So, you're just bouncing off a cell tower.
Right. So it obviously doesn't go far enough into Mobile to give you that coverage.
Okay.
And that's why we wanted to put it
there. Okay. And how soon do you plan on doing construction if we approve this?
Probably in a couple months.
All right. Does he have to come back for a permit? Okay. And do we normally do 30 years? Okay. And why do we want to do 30 years?
We agreed to that stipulation because we know that development and technology is ever growing. So we want to revisit that in 30 years and maybe bring that height down. Because if it does become more populated, then we won't need that height of the tower. it's going to become more of a capacity issue than a
sure.
coverage issue.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Osborne?
So, something that just occurred to me, you know, in other areas, we try to see if there's possibilities of, especially a tower as tall as yours, that you have multiple users on one tower so that there's not, you know, 3 more 195-foot.
Right, a tower farm.
Correct. So will you be allowing other, because you mentioned T-Mobile, so will you be allowing for other entities on this one tower?
Yeah, it is engineered for 4 carriers.
Okay, very good.
4.
Katie, was there a possibility of, when you said 30 years, that if something changed in 12 years, that a new master plan development was coming there, that discussion, you know, could take place with them? Because this could, I mean, you never know. This could come. I hate to have closed the door completely for 30 years to not have, you know, the conversation of this is now a whole new, you know, issue. So is there a way to address that?
Well, the reason why we agree to it is because most master agreements with the other cellular carriers are 30 years. That's typical. It's standard across the board. So if we go to build this tower and we tell the carriers that, hey, in 15 years, they might decide to bring it down, well, then we don't have another customer. We don't have another carrier to come on that tower.
It's not so much that. It's more the chain link fence and barbed wire that I'm thinking about, and people coming there, and just the, how do you say it? Not a pleasant nuisance, but it's something always attractive nuisance where all of a sudden somebody wants to mess around with it and things like that. And I'm just, you know, looking down the road, and maybe it's nothing that I should really concern myself with, but I feel like we've put a hard close on a 30-year time frame that we just don't know what could potentially be the future of. So that's why I just keep going back to that. Maybe I shouldn't feel that way, but that's what I just keep thinking about. So.
Anybody else? And I kind of find myself agreeing with Councilmember Osborne. I think what she's getting at least what I understand, is like the chain link fence could be revisited before the 30-year time frame if that starts to develop for aesthetic reasons, if anything. I don't think we're talking about taking down, because I don't think the coverage issue will probably change, but I think it's
not taking it down. No.
It's the aesthetics that we could look at, just what's around there, because we're kind of giving you a bit of to allow you. We don't usually do chain link fences, so we're kind of saying that in this
case.
I
think maybe we'll come to a compromise. You know, each carrier is going to have to come to you anyways to apply to go onto that tower, to co-locate on that tower. And if you, a couple of years down the road, and you know, you see that things are developing faster than what they should be, then maybe you can take that carrier's application and say, hey, the stipulations for co-locating on this tower could be improving the fencing, or maybe hiding their equipment aesthetically, maybe by a CMU wall. Or
is that, Roy, is that something we could do later? Would that be something permissible?
Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council, my best advice is if you want to delete the chain link fence, you probably need to do it in conjunction with tonight's use permit.
Okay. That's
a question.
Go ahead, Councilman.
In looking at the picture, the pole will be across the street from the Amaranth property. You'll be on the side of the railroad, right? You'll be across the street beside where the tracks are.
Correct.
Okay, well, that makes it even more interesting. That's good. At least it's not on the side of that the school is on and that maybe the development would be on, because nothing can be on that side with the railroad track. Yep. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm trying not to do any undue harm to you. You know, I'm just thinking the 30 years is what's bugging me, and thinking that there could be things out there, because anywhere else we would have insisted on a wall, you know, and not the chain link fence and this and that. So that's why I'm just like, if there was something, you know, 18 years from now that opened up that we could go back and say, hey, can you now build the wall around it rather than this chain link? That's just my concern. And so,
I'm just saying we've already, come to a compromise and we've agreed to the stipulation already. Maybe that's a condition that you could place on those future.
It sounds like from
areas.
talking to our city attorney, it's better to do it tonight for the original one if we're going to work through this here.
I'm okay with whatever you guys feel. So.
Does anyone else feel strongly about that?
I don't think they're going to see any development up there for a long, long time. So I don't know what's the best way, what the city attorney recommends, but I think it's going to be more than 10 years, but that's just my own feeling.
We'll probably be dead and gone.
Well, that was pleasant.
Vice Mayor, if
Yes.
I may, members of the council, Councilmember Osborne, part of the reason staff felt comfortable recommending approval with the chain link fence is, again, because of the development status and the employee support in the area. We were concerned about things, as Councilmember Campbell brought up, with if you put a block wall, would it be a target for graffiti, and staff isn't down there, our
No
code
one's there.
enforcement
No one down to
staff
see it.
isn't down there. To get somebody down there to clean it up could be challenging right now until the area develops more. And then also the visibility issue that the chain link fence does offer, possibly a little more security so somebody could see if somebody's in there trying to damage the equipment for this time. Again, that's
I appreciate that
in
perspective.
this area, because we went through the same thought process you're going through of this isn't, we would normally not require, we would normally require a block wall for the aesthetic purposes, but because of the surrounding development, that's why we recommend the approval.
Anybody else? Okay, well, looks like it's all in favor.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, looks like it passes. You up for a break now? Sure. Can we take a 2-minute break? On to 7.4. The next item on the business agenda is a public hearing to consider a special use permit to allow an inert material landfill. We're going to open the public meeting, and Karen Craver, our planner 3, it will present again.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. From the crown jewel to the pit.
Crown jewel.
The inert material landfill that we're talking about tonight is the existing I-10 borrow pit at the southwest corner of Roosevelt Street and 158th Avenue, just down the street from Walmart. The pit was recently purchased by Fusaro Land Reclamation, a company out of Colorado. And as you all recall, on March 27th, you approved a zoning ordinance text amendment to allow inert material landfills in any zoning district with a special use permit. This property just happens to be zoned agricultural. Fusaro submitted a special use permit request to city staff, and they plan to continue and complete the land reclamation activities that were begun by a previous owner. They plan to do it in approximately 3 phases, and they believe, with their estimates of the fill that will be coming in, that it will last approximately 5 years. This is a site plan per se. They will begin fill operations at that northernmost rectangle there. That will be the initial fill area. Trucks will be coming in on Roosevelt Street in front of Walmart. They'll come in, dump the load, turn around, and go back out via Roosevelt Street. There will not be any of the truck traffic on 158th Avenue. Then as that section is completed, they move to the middle section, same truck route, just extends a little further into the property. And then the plan is for the bottom area to be the final fill area. We had a neighborhood meeting, of course, and about a half a dozen residents from the nearby homes came out and met with us. And they had the concerns that you would expect, the dust, we spoke to them, and we have stipulations of approval that have been reviewed with them about, the county dust control permit is required. There's signage there that if there's dust blowing around, you can call the county and let them know that that is happening. They're going to have a water tank on site that's going to be keeping the dust down as much as they can. There's a chain link fence there now. They're going to install a heavy mesh cloth all the way around the property on that chain link fence. In terms of noise, they're going to have the Fusaro equipment is going to have white noise, backup alarms instead of the beeping that drives everybody nuts. There are maximum noise levels at the property lines that have been established and will be enforced. There's limitations that we have put in place on when activities can occur on the site, and those, of course, will be enforced as well. Regarding the truck traffic, everything will be on Roosevelt Street. There will be limitations on when materials are delivered. Roosevelt Street will be paved up to the western entrance into the facility where the trucks will go again, so that there's not the noise from trucks on gravel, not the dust from trucks on gravel. The area just to the west of 158th also provides access to a portion of Wade Acres, so there will be no parking signs placed on there. There will also be a track out pad that will be on site, so when the trucks leave the pit area, they are not tracking stuff out onto the adjacent roadways and properties. Hours of operation, of course, there'll be a lot of activity in the first 60 days after a grading permit is issued, because Fusaro has to go in there and clean up what has already been dumped there. And by clean up, I mean break it up into smaller pieces and get it leveled out and get it compacted and get it ready for new material to be dumped in. And then after that, that activity will be a little less frequent. Also, delivery of materials, that's the same as our construction hours of operation that we have elsewhere in the city. We're following the winter and summer construction hours by our city code. And with that, staff and the Planning Commission, by a vote of 6-0, are recommending approval. I can tell you that after our neighborhood meeting, the applicant had another neighborhood meeting out on site, and no one came to the P&Z meeting after that. So we have been working diligently, both as staff and the applicant, with the neighbors to make sure their concerns are addressed, and we believe they have been, and we have gotten no calls or questions from neighbors since those initial neighborhood meetings.
Thank you, Karen. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Would anyone in the audience like to speak? Okay, I have to read this. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The yellow light and buzzer will let you know you have 30 seconds left to speak. Before you begin to speak, identify yourself by clearly stating for the record your name and address.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, members of the council. My name is Brian Greathouse, 702 East Osborne Road. Here tonight representing Fusaro, and Donnie Fetters and his son James are here tonight, and Donnie owns Fusaro, and our civil engineer Mike Jackson's here as well. We're very happy and pleased to be presenting this project tonight because we think it's a great thing for the city. It's a great thing for the surrounding area. All the neighbors are overwhelmingly in support of this. We've carefully crafted a lot of different stipulations to make it at least impactful upon their lives, and they're happy for that. We plan on getting in there, like Karen said, and cleaning up the interior of the site. We're also going to clean up the exterior of the site where piles have been illegally dumped over the years, and we're going to relocate the perimeter of the fence out to the right-of-way line because there's been semi-trucks parking on the property, and Donnie's excited to get them off his property. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer those. Some of the equipment that will be used on the site are a D8 bulldozer that'll push material around on the site. There will be an excavator with what's called a muncher, and it grabs and crushes concrete. And when it crushes the concrete, it takes out the rebar, and then they go discard the rebar so it's not compacted in the site. And lastly, they have a compactor with something called sheep's feet, which are metal feet that run over the site, and they compact the material and grind it up a little bit.
Well, thank you.
If you have any questions, happy to answer.
We'll close the public hearing, then we'll see if the council has any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Any other speakers? Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing. Can I have a motion and a second to approve a special use permit for the inert material landfill to allow for the reclamation of an existing public project borrow pit at the southwest corner of Roosevelt Street and 158th Avenue, subject to stipulations?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Campbell and a second from Councilmember Pizzillo. Open for council discussion. Councilmember Pizzillo?
You know, I appreciate the efforts of meeting with the neighborhoods and getting all those issues worked out for both of you. My only concern when it was here prior was as the material is being dumped, there's no jagged pieces or, whatever, because kids will be kids. And, even if you fence in it or whatever, some of them will figure out a way how to get down there and play in it. So has been on my only concern. I believe you addressed that at the last meeting we had to try to mitigate that so that there's nothing sharp or anything that's kind of hanging out above so somebody can get hurt. And again, I appreciate you working with the different neighborhoods and the groups to make sure that you work out any of those pending issues. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. Councilmember Campbell?
I have a question. Are you going to secure the site? I didn't exactly walk the site, but I drove to the site last Saturday, and went around the perimeter to see. And I could see where there was a lot of illegal dumping, and you do have a lot to clean up, and I'm so sorry. People couldn't read the sign right, and they just dumped. But are you going to have it open all the time?
My name is Donnie Fetters, 8581 County Road 24.
The entrance where the trucks go in, will that be open all the time?
No, that'll. So we're going to locate the east fence, and we are also going to put up another gate. So there'll be two sets of gates to get through, but they will not be open until my hours of operation, which I think it's seasonal. So, but they will be closing at 5 o'clock in the evenings, and it'll be secure as possible. Of course, people can climb fences and get in areas, but right now there's hazards out there, and there's actually hazards out on the road now because over the last few months, I've only owned it for about 12 or 13 months now, and since I've owned it, people are dumping out front, and there's pieces of rebar sticking up. But no, I will be like Mr. Joe said. We will be cleaning up all the rebar. It'll be put in bins and recycled, so the steel will be recycled. Of course, there's going to be hazards, but no more than probably your backyard once we get it cleaned up. And we're estimating that initial cleanup period is going to take us about 30 days. We asked for 60 because it is an extensive deal. But my father will be down here with me, and we'll probably have one of our operators down here, and we'll get it cleaned up as quickly as possible.
Well, I appreciate you double gating it simply because once the activity stops during the day, I don't want a bunch of kids running around to look to see what you're doing over there. So at least with it gated, we'll feel that it's somewhat secure.
Yeah, that's something we kind of came up with lately.
That's a good idea.
And moving that fence out, I'm just going to leave the existing fence and then move just the northernmost section,
right.
And then we're going to bring that out, and then there's going to be another gate there. It's not going to be as tall, and it's not going to be as big, and we'll silk screen off that first one with that black silk screening that we agreed upon, and so I think it'll be a little bit more secure.
Yeah.
And I've asked those truck drivers that come and park there overnight to leave, and they just stay there. So.
Well, once you move that fence, they can't get in there.
That's right.
So is it your intention after you get the land all filled and it smooth or whatever, is it your intention to maybe have developers come in to develop that area? I mean, way down the road?
That's the hope. I don't have a crystal ball, and right. I'm not a developer myself, but it seems that now that just recently south of our site, it is all residential. So I would imagine that's going to be residential. It's zone ag now, but I don't have any plans. And the way with our engineers, the way we're designing it is you'll be able to put structures on it. It'll be compacted, subcompacted. Everything will be documented as we bring the level up, and it should be a good buildable site if that's what it becomes.
Well, that'll be a wonderful addition to that area, especially since the housing is already developed to the right of it, or to the north of it. And then there's also to that side of it.
East.
Is that west or east? I don't know. But you're developed all around it. So if you were able to do that, that would really make Roosevelt be a really nice street. Because as you drive down now and you come to the stop sign, it's just there. It's just this vacant lot with stuff in it.
Well, I just want to let you guys know I took offense because I think it is the crown jewel.
Oh, it is.
You guys said it was the. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh, no, you're going to make it into a crown jewel. That's okay. That's all right. But thank you very much.
Councilmember Osborne.
I have a couple of questions. So you kind of answered the how will it be monitored question, and actually, I'm glad that you'll have a little bit more security around there, because I've had citizens, really asking me, why aren't we doing anything about it? People are dumping stuff in there, stuff like that, and that it's an eyesore. So I appreciate that it's finally, after all these years, going to have something done to it. But on the question side, so how many trucks a day do you feel will be entering and exiting the property?
Our traffic study shows how many trucks we expect to come in there. It's about 35 trucks a day.
Okay.
It's short about 1 million cubic yards of dirt. So we anticipate about 200,000 cubic yards will be imported in there per year. That's our goal, and that's how we get to the 5 years.
So I appreciate that. So you're thinking it's 5 years to complete this whole project.
Yeah.
Okay, so 35 trucks a day, give or take. You are surrounded by a Walmart and residential areas. And so I guess I'm glad you're doing this. Don't take this wrong. My concern will be for the citizens, the regular traffic that's going to be coming in and out of that area, whether it's buses for school, whatever it may be. There's going to be residential, traffic here along with the trucks. And so I'm wondering if we need to be thinking about truck enter, exit signage, just something that gives some kind of, thought to people looking around as they are driving and talking on their phone.
Yeah.
And, and your truck drivers themselves, if you're having a hard stop before they are, you know what I mean? That's just what I'm thinking about. So.
Yeah, we're happy to do that. Put a sign up if we need to, and we can work with staff through that. That intersection was recently changed from a through intersection to a four-way stop, so that solves some of those concerns. And yeah.
I'm not down there very often, so I'm just looking at this, slide of the intersection, and that's what I was thinking about. So I guess, please monitor it. I don't know if there's staff, if you had any other concerns about that. I guess you probably would have already addressed it within your report.
And I'll take you back to that slide. Yes, as they mentioned, the intersection was recently improved, so it's a four-way stop. So, when there's trucks trying to get across 158, the other traffic is going to stop themselves. And we have spoken to our city traffic engineer. There are regulations on the books in terms of trucks backing up into the street or, kind of blocking the street. We have enforcement capabilities there. We believe by having the trucks going in and out on Roosevelt, it gets them to a signalized intersection at Estrella Parkway rather than going down 158th to Van Buren where there is none. So we think the traffic patterns and the signage and the enforcement capabilities that we have hopefully will work out just fine. And if it proves to be a bit of a problem, then we're going to have to address it because Donnie has criteria that he has to meet. And if there are complaints from the neighbors, it gives us the ability to go in and ask to make some operational changes.
Now, you just stated signage. Do you mean the stop signs, or were you referring to
The
some
stop
other
signs, but we can certainly look into it with staff about our ability to put trucks entering the area or trucks in the area.
If that, I guess that's my suggestion. If this becomes, something that is of an issue. So, thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Councilmember Campbell.
Since Councilmember Osborne brought it up, we have not had any complaints about truck traffic going in and out of Walmart, have we? And because Walmart gets many deliveries every single day, and they come right in, drop their load, and go right back out.
We are not aware in the planning division that we've had.
Okay. Well, you would have known.
Yeah, I believe so.
Those are obvious.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, I just want to say, I think it's a good plan. That's been open for decades, and as that area is growing up, people are like, what are we going to do with that? What is that? And why is all that stuff in there? And so I think if they see it moving and filling up so it'll be usable land and put back on as usable land that people can build on will be a very good thing. And on a long term, it'll be, I know it's going to be a little inconvenient, and you're doing what you can to mitigate it. I appreciate the city staff doing what we can to make sure everything is mitigated so we can move this from an eyesore to a crown jewel, and because before you took it over, it needs some work, and you're going to put a lot of work into it, because I like what Councilmember Campbell was saying. I've seen some of the dumping there and adding the screen fencing and everything will be 100% improvement. So I do ask the residents in that area, let us know if there's problems. I'm sure you would like to know if there's problems so we can make sure we can continue to work with the neighborhoods, and we can get this project moving so it's back to being usable land again. So with that, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you. Our next item on the business agenda is a public hearing to consider the amendment to Las Brisas Phase 2 Planned Area Development, PAD, and that is we're going to open the public hearing, and Katie Wilkin, Planner 3, will present.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and members of council. As stated, this is a request to amend the PAD for Las Brisas. Las Brisas development is located northwest of Broadway Road and Perryville. The Las Brisas development is this whole L-shaped parcel that's on the map, but the PAD we're reviewing is the part that's shaded in white, Las Brisas Phase 2. The parcels that are impacted by the change are these 4 parcels, 2B1, 2B2, 2B3, and 2C5 that are outlined in the red. The proposed change is to create a new, delete one of the districts, create a new district, and change the land uses on these 4 areas. And this chart shows that 10,000 square foot district is being proposed for deletion, and then we're adding the 5850 square foot lot district. And then this chart shows that a portion of 2B1 will be the 65 foot wide product and a portion will be 55. The 2B2 is going from a 65 foot wide product to a 60. 2B3 is going from an 80 foot wide product to 55, and 2C5 is going from an 80 to a 50. I should pause here for a second. On the 50-foot wide lots, the developer has proposed the same design enhancements we've seen in some of the other West Goodyear properties when they've added the 50-foot wide lots, such as paver driveways and requiring a front porch or courtyard. The other community feature that was added is that they've enhanced the open space in this portion of Las Brisas. Las Brisas has always been developed with this pocket park concept where each of the parcels has this really nice central pocket park. But let's see, hopefully this works. But they did a really great job of aligning these areas so they're connected so you can use the trails to get from one of these to the next. And then this is the school site right here, so that connects as well. And this is just an exhibit to show the existing, which is on the left, to the proposed lot standards on the right. We did hold a neighborhood meeting. There were 2 residents in attendance who just had general questions. We didn't receive any objections. At the public hearing at the Planning and Zoning Commission, there was no input from the public, and they unanimously recommended approval. I did want to modify our recommendation slightly on the number 3, ordinance 17-1341. Staff wants to recommend approving the ordinance, striking stipulation number 8, which has to do with the dedication of a roadway, this Dunlap, which is on the north portion. This was a stipulation that we carried over from the original zoning that actually no longer applies. The property owner doesn't own that future right-of-way. They're unable to dedicate it. And it was something we accidentally carried forward when we were carrying over some of the zoning stipulations. So staff would recommend adopting the ordinance with the deletion of that stipulation number 8. Susan Demmett from Gamage and Burnham is also here representing the applicant and can answer questions, but this concludes my presentation at this time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Would anyone from the audience like to speak? And you might have heard before, everyone is limited to 3 minutes, and the yellow light and the buzzer will let you know when you have 30 seconds left. And before you speak, please identify yourself.
All right, good evening. Susan Demmett with Gamage and Burnham. I just wanted to make a couple very quick comments to add to Katie's presentation. We've met with most of you previously about this request when we started this process last fall. We've worked very closely with your staff. This is a market-driven request. And I just wanted to provide you a little bit of an update on what's been going on from a sales perspective at Taylor Morrison, that is, or at Las Brisas from Taylor Morrison's perspective. That's why we started this process. And as the housing market has recovered, Las Brisas has been doing phenomenally well over the last, well, really since 2007, the beginning of 2017. They've now, I've told, as of today, have sold 39 homes in Las Brisas since the beginning of this year, which is a sales pace of about 12 homes per month, which is close to double Taylor Morrison's other communities in the valley. This is one of their strongest selling communities. And so they expect that they will be out of lots to sell in about 4 weeks in Las Brisas. And we will have probably a 3-month dark period where there will be no construction, no new home construction going on as we get new parcels up and running out there. So this approval is timely. The next parcel that actually is they will start construction on is just to the west of 2C5. If you look on the map up there, but they will not be able to start construction on those homes until September of this year. There's a community park that's next to that parcel 2C6 that will start construction within a couple of months, and then 2 of these parcels, 2B1 and 2B2, will be the next parcels to follow. And so they continue to, they anticipate throughout the end of this year very strong sales out there. So we're excited to get this approved and keep this moving forward. I did want to make one comment about the elimination of the 10,000 square foot lot category. There is still a parcel of 10,000 square foot lots that is undeveloped as of today in phase 1 of Las Brisas, and that will be developed eventually as 10,000 square foot lots to 80-foot lot width, because that parcel has already been, the water and sewer stubs, the streets are already in, and so they're kind of reevaluating product opportunities for that parcel. That's it.
Well, thank you. So we'll close the public hearing. And will the city clerk please read Resolution 17-1800 by title only?
Adopt Resolution 17-1800, declaring as a public record that certain document filed with the city clerk entitled the Las Brisas Phase 2 Final Planned Area Development Regulatory Standards Booklet dated March 7, 2017.
And can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pizzillo and a second from Councilmember Campbell. Open for council discussion.
I just have a quick question, but Joanne, go first.
Joanne, go ahead. Councilmember Osborne.
Well, of course, I can't find what I was looking for.
Sorry.
Somewhere within all of these attachments. First of all, very glad that, as I said earlier this evening, when you see change of consumers' ways and what they want and what they desire, you fit the model to what's being asked for. So I understand why you guys come back for that. Growing up, we always like bigger lots, and I grew up with the Arizona territorial home, so everything was never up; it was long and lean. But it's interesting to watch how people's ideas change and what they desire. So I appreciate that. And I had written in here, back to Katie, you did touch upon it that. Typically when we go to these smaller lots like this, we're looking for enhancements, and what are those? And I guess this is kind of to staff, you've pointed out the porch homes and open space, all those things that allow for these higher density areas, correct? Is there anything else that you want to add to that?
Thank you, Vice Mayor, Councilmember Osborne. That's a great question. I appreciate it because I think I was neglectful to state that this Las Brisas is somewhat unique to some of the other developments we've seen in that it's a home builder bringing forth this application. So they actually know exactly what home product they want to propose. So we've actually been working through the residential design review behind the scenes as we've been doing this. And overall, their plan is to build the same product that is in the first phases of Las Brisas and continue that product throughout the development. So that gave staff a level of comfort of actually being able to see the product and conduct the residential design review as we were doing the PUD amendment, where some of the other developments, there's not a home builder attached with them yet, so we're trying to create regulations without knowing what that product's going to look like.
So two things to the product. And then the attachment that I cannot find is in line with what the fire response times are right now. And I swear I saw in here that current, and I'm going to say it was current, is 8 to 10 minutes. And I was looking for how that goes in line with, you guys it sounds like you're going with, gangbusters, everything's good. How that fits into what we're discussing right now, budget-wise and CIP-wise, when that fire station is supposed to come on board, as I'm looking at these two, and I don't want to, that's I'm concerned about safety
Yes.
for.
Good evening, Vice Mayor. How are you?
I'm doing well.
To answer your question about this, is that correct? The West Goodyear station coming online?
Yes, and like I said, I can't find it, but is it not currently 8 to 10 minutes right now?
To that area, to Las Brisas, yes. The response time from 184 is in that neighborhood, yes.
Okay, and back to the timing. When do we...
For the construction of the
yes.
station? Yes. That's scheduled to be open July of 2021.
2021. Okay. So, thank you.
That's the fiscal year 2021. So it would actually be July of 2020.
22? Oh, 2020.
Or, I'm sorry, 21, July, yeah, fiscal year 2022. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. So what will be the answer in that time frame when you're doing so well and so many homes are going up and we continue to have that disparity, and how will your customers know that they're outside of a normal time frame, I guess, is my concern. Thank you. So I guess that's back to your side.
And I will be honest. This is an issue that hasn't come up throughout the process, but Las Brisas is fully entitled today, and so even if it were built out under the current zoning, the fire station response time is still the same. From a marketing standpoint, I believe that you do share. You tell me this. Most fire departments will share across district lines if there are issues, and you've got Buckeye fire stations that are within a radius of this project as well, and I assume that they would be available to respond if there's an issue with the assigned fire station being able to get there. All of the information regarding the fire station that provides service today to Las Brisas, all of that's included in our subdivision public reports and things like that. So that's typical information that the customers will receive.
Okay. Do you know, Chief, what the response time then is? And you're right, we do have that shared, which is good. Do we know what the response time then is typically from that side of the?
No, I think the nearest station that we have listed, at least in the documents that you have in front of you, would be from Fire Station 182, which is in Estrella Mountain Ranch, and more than likely traveling over the Cotton Lane Bridge, and they're 15 minutes to that time. So I don't know what the city of Buckeye. I can certainly pull those.
Will they be the closest?
The next closest would be our fire station, 182 in Estrella Mountain Ranch. So I believe the next closest Buckeye station would be in Verado. So it's a ways away.
I don't have anything more right now. Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Just to follow offline, probably from the city managers, probably just get an update on that. It's my recollection in the budget process that was moved up a little bit. I could be wrong, but it wasn't 22. It was moved up a little bit to bring online. But if you know now, that's fine. If not, we can get a follow up with the city manager. But I thought the budget process, that particular station was moved up a little bit because of the growth out there.
Yeah, I believe it was moved to fiscal year 22 for an opening, and I will confirm that and
Okay.
get it out to council.
For an opening, which means building would start and the hiring, and you mean year 22, right?
Correct.
Okay.
We got it so that 2-year process for the next stations in EMR, and then immediately after that going into a 2-year process for the West Goodyear station.
Okay. Just concerns that I also have with Councilman Osborne, just follow those response times as this takes off, because it looks like that may be the next area within the city in which these homes start to sell at a significant pace. So I just want to stay on top of that, to kind of watch the calls and the volumes and those times as well.
Yes, sir. This is actually an area that we watch as a hotspot for the fire department, so it's something we look at quarterly.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have something else, Councilmember Osborne? Just stay up there, okay?
Okay, so just devil's advocate, going down the line, you guys are doing well. And I want Taylor Morrison to understand that this isn't a direct hit to you. It's concern for safety of our people. And so quarterly you're doing this. I appreciate that. 2 years from now, it's really, it's one thing in distance, but as call volume continues to increase. What is your other plan then? If that in 2 years we've got an issue that we just can't be any closer, so then what do you do?
One of the things that we've been talking about with the city manager's office is looking at other opportunities that may exist as we start to bring new staff on. Potentially putting on different types of vehicles to maybe help offset some, or at least create an opportunity for a better reliability out of the current station that they're responding from. So the one at Yuma and Saraville, looking for opportunities to create that opportunity to keep units within their first due to be able to respond to those calls out there. But that's going to take some work through the city manager's office to kind of get that done and see how we can get that done.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And just so that you know that you can sit down, Chief. I don't have any more questions for you. This has been an issue with all of our communities with the fire service. So I just want you to know that this has been a concern, and we're trying to plan for the future, because at the recession we got a little bit behind, and now with the growth again, we want to make sure that we have the proper position with everyone.
Right. And and it's certainly, it's great to see that the city is being proactive about thinking about that. That's certainly important for our future homeowners as well. And I was just doing a little quick math as I was sitting there trying to figure out, the timeline for the construction of your new station versus the build out of this community. And it sounds to me as if this fire station will be up and running and online before Las Brisas is built out. If you just look at the four parcels that we're amending, you have 391 lots that are now proposed in those 4 parcels. If they kept up a pace of 12 homes per month, which they won't, that's a phenomenal pace. And so that would take 3 or 2.5 to 3 years to build that out. At a more normal pace, that's about a 5-year build out for that portion of the community. We still have 2 other development parcels to the north that are not yet planned, and then we don't know when construction will start on those. And so I think this will kind of unfold in a timely manner. There will be a period of time, obviously, where we're still served from the existing fire station, but it sounds like the new one will come online before we finish construction out here. And it should help, I assume, payment of our development fees to help potentially move that along as well.
Well, I just want to comment, and then I'll turn it back over to Councilmember Osborne. I think she's got another question, is that I am glad to see that you're taking the proactive approach and looking at the smaller lots, because that is clearly what's selling. I think we discussed that. You've got empty nesters, you've got, younger families and, millennials that are not looking for the huge property to take care of anymore. It's just not what is selling.
And the market has been very, very strong for that smaller lot size. We've looked at Taylor Morrison's community in Gilbert, which is similar to Las Brisas, their Adora Trails community, and those smaller lot sizes are just the strength of the market right now. And honestly, with the enhancements that your staff has worked with us to implement in what will be parcel 2C5, I think that will be, probably the most desirable parcel out of the 4 that are coming online. Just with the central, has a central community park. All of the driveways have pavers. The homes are a little closer to the street. They have porches and front yards and a lot of front yard landscaping. And so, I think that the market will respond really well to that.
Well, thank you. Councilmember Osborne, one more question.
You hit upon someone right there, because back to the meeting that we had together, and I grilled you over all of those homes. I know I did, and I asked because we were talking about a total, I don't know, over 700 homes, correct? And for all of it, and maybe it's even more than that.
It's more than that. For the whole project will have 1,321 homes.
Right. But I was, concerned over 700 of the same house. And you were trying to explain to me that it would be actually more like 15 different.
So correct. They have 3 product lines that they ultimately will sell at Las Brisas. Each of those product lines has 3 different elevations, generally 4 different floor plans, 3, 4, 5 color schemes for each of those homes. And those range from homes that are built to, that are designed to be on the larger 70, 80-foot lots, down to the homes that are designed for the smaller 50, 55, and 60-foot wide lots. And so there's a lot of opportunity for variety. And, and again, what we're doing in 2C5, and some of the other design enhancements are rolling over into those other parcels as well. Will help to differentiate those parcels from the rest of the community from a design standpoint. I mean, if you go out to Las Brisas right now, you see a lot of turf and grass, and I think you're going to start to see the landscape transition to more of a xeriscape, lush xeriscape palette out there because of water rates and water prices. But there's been a real significant focus, and we've gone in as part of this PAD process and designed each of those individual neighborhood parks that will be in the parcels, and ensure that they have heightened amenities, that they have high and dry play areas, they all have turf play areas. I mean, there are a lot of community amenities that will be the focus and not just the houses.
Thank you. I truly appreciate that. Everything that the companies do and the home builder does for us is really, I know it sounds like I'm holding you to the fire, but to the fire. Yeah, Paul, I said that, to the fire.
That was bad.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? As we all say, we only get one shot at this, and, we just have to always do the diligence that we were elected to do by our citizens. So I appreciate everything that you've told me tonight.
We appreciate you guys keeping us honest.
Okay.
So.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
If I may, before you vote, I did get confirmation from the Finance Director, Love Technology, is we are planning on opening that station, at least what's in the proposed budget right now, on July 1st of 2021 opening.
Okay, so a year early.
So this will be brought before council on our tentative budget on May 22nd. So it's part of that proposed budget that you'll be voting on.
I thought it had moved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
me too. Okay, thank you.
Okay, on that, can we have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Loretano?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you. And now would the city clerk please read ordinance 17-1341 by title only?
Adopt ordinance 17-1341, amending the final PAD zoning for approximately 311 acres, generally located at the northeast corner of Perryville Road and Broadway Road, and commonly known as Las Brisas Phase 2, by adopting the Las Brisas Phase 2 Planned Area Development dated March 7, 2017, to govern the development of all parcels within Las Brisas Phase 2, amending the zoning map of the city of Goodyear, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, and removing stipulation number 8.
Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
We have to stipulate 8.
Second. Oh, with stipulations read.
Number 8, I believe. Is that what it is? Okay, she read it. Okay.
So we have Councilmember Pizzillo. We'll do the motion from Councilmember and the second from Councilmember Osborne. And that is removing stipulation 8, right? Okay.
Right.
Open for council discussion. I think we all talked out. Can I have a roll call vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Loretano?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to 7-6. Katie's just staying right here. The next item on the business agenda is to consider approval of a preliminary plat in Las Brisas Phase 2.0, subject to stipulations. Katie Wilkham, the planning manager, will also present.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, members of the council. We are the application before you is to plat the same area we just discussed for the rezoning. So I don't think there's much to add to that unless you have specific questions. However, we did have a change in the stipulation on here too. We just had trouble with the stipulations on this one. On stipulation number 5 and stipulation number 6, it references parcel 3B2, and that reference is meant to be 2B3. We just transposed the numbers. So on this one, we would recommend approval with editing stipulation number 5 to read 2B3.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
Vice Mayor.
Would anyone from the audience like to speak? Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve a preliminary plat for Las Brisas Phase 2.0, subject to stipulations?
So move.
You got to add what she's...
Stipulation number 5, number 6 to read 2-B3.
Yes. Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Campbell and a second from Councilmember Osborne. Open for council discussion. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Now we're going to move to item 7.7. The next item on the business agenda is to consider an amendment to the PV 303 PAD Phase West 1. And we're going to open the public hearing. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Would anyone in the audience like to speak? Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to continue the above to the public hearing to May 22nd?
So move.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilmember Campbell, and I have a second from Councilmember Pizzillo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. The next item on the business agenda is to consider approving the fiscal year 18 annual Public Art Plan as recommended by the Arts and Culture Commission. Gailina Lansky, Arts and Culture Coordinator, will present.
Good evening. Thank you. I am joined this evening with Laura Cano, our chairman from our Goodyear Arts and Culture Commission, and we'll be presenting the FY18 Annual Public Art Plan.
All right, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the Goodyear Arts and Culture Commission. We're going to review highlights of the current fiscal year, give you our recommendations for projects for the next fiscal year, and then also cast our vision for the next 5 years. With our diverse backgrounds, your Arts and Culture Commission is united in our mission to engage and support the community through art, create a sense of place that enhances the quality of life for Goodyear residents, businesses, and visitors. We do this through developing and promoting artistic excellence, advancing education, and creating public dialogue. I love this photo because it captures the beauty of the collaboration of veterans who live or work in the city of Goodyear. So we had some great public art installations this year. The Veterans Tribute, which you saw on the previous slide, which can be simply summarized for veterans by veterans. The Honor Wall, which is a beautiful demonstration of the integration of art in a new building. The light pole banners. 4 Goodyear artists engaged the community to create their images that reflect Goodyear. The Centennial Mosaic Trail Markers. This project is currently underway at the Estrella Regional Park, and it's an artistic expression by young artists of a historical timeline of the region. The library gathering space is underway. It's very exciting. It will be concluded by June 1st. And it will create that space for shaded area with sculptural seating. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Goodyear Mobile History Museum continues to be very well received and well attended and affords an opportunity to engage the community, such as the Three Rivers Historical Society, which frequently acts as a docent at city events. And for arts events and programs, this year we're on track to bring art to over 20,000 people with a 97% satisfaction rating. So public art is just one facet of what the commission does. And people say, well, why public art? Why does it matter? Well, it creates a sense of place and establishes an identity. It enhances what we already have, what we're building, and actually defines where we are at this point in history. What we do now will remind the future of where they've come from. We build community pride, we provide cultural and social value, and public art is a significant part of the cultural economy. It attracts new and visiting populations. It's attractive to developers and businesses, employers, and it enhances our overall quality of life. So our goals this year will meet the recommendations of the Goodyear General Plan. You'll see in our proposal many opportunities for collaboration and engagement. And our criteria always, always, always includes getting the community's voice in our art.
Thank you, Laura. Over the next few slides, Vice Mayor and Council, I'm going to take you through a few of the projects that we have planned for FY18 as a recommendation for this year's public art plan. And the first one is, Laura mentioned the Mobile Museum. And the Goodyear Mobile Museum has been a very successful program. We've had this now for 2 years. It comes out at all of our arts and culture events, at our city signature events. This year we've even taken it outside of the city. We were invited to go to the Litchfield Park 100th year celebration. We had a Goodyear business, longtime Goodyear business, ask for us to bring it out to one of their picnics. And so it's really been a great hit for our city. We are requesting $5,000 to increase the exhibits that we currently have in the museum so that we can start changing some of those exhibits out so that when you're coming to maybe the same event, you're starting to see something new and exciting when you come and visit the museum. And we've also found that when we're at our events, we've had not arts educators, but educators and administrators from the schools that stop in, and they often ask about, hey, can we get this over to our school? And so we would really like to develop a Goodyear Mobile Museum in the schools program and have something that they could actually borrow, and then they could set this up and use it, and they could teach, build their curriculum around these materials. We're very fortunate that we will be having 2 fire stations built in fiscal year 18, and as Laura mentioned, one of the Commission's goals is to include public art in new city facilities as part of the objective in our general plan. We have Station 186 and Station 181 that will be built, and we're requesting $40,000 for each of those stations. What we find with fire stations, what's very unique about them, is their architecture and their appearance really define almost the neighborhoods that they're built in. They really kind of build in and they bring that community together. And public art is a great way to enhance that. There's different ways. These are different examples from around. You know, we can architecturally integrate artwork. Artwork can really define the look of a station. It can be whimsical and fun. It can also be very much like 185, where we have Ken Williams' artwork here, Fire and Water, that's applied to the outside of that building. So we would like to include artwork at these 2 facilities. We were able to coordinate with the new PD operations building, putting the honor wall in, and it was really a nice process to be able to work with that, to include that public art at the beginning of that project, so that was integrated fully into the full design. Along with identifying artwork to be included at new city facilities, the Arts Commission also looks at other places in the city that maybe need more public art due to it being a high traffic area or an area where the public congregates in large numbers. And one of those areas is Goodyear Community Park. And so for Goodyear Community Park, we have actually 2 public art installations there. One is Proximo Distal, which the example is right here. That was completed in 2002 as a Gallery 37 project. Many of you are familiar with Gallery 37 through the West Valley Arts Council. And these are some trail markers that you find along the pathway that marks your distance that you've traveled, and they're shaped like a small stone that's there. We also have a project that was installed in 2012 by Mary Schindel, Air, Earth, Water. And when you go into Goodyear Community Park, you see this piece of artwork in the roundabout that's there. It has these markers here, this beautiful metal work, and there's also some tile work on a seat wall that's near the grassy area. The Commission is recommending that we include artwork on this section of, this is the stage area at Goodyear Community Park. This is a photograph of chalk art in the park. We hold quite a few events here at this location, and this is an excellent space to include something like a mosaic. It would be a project where we could really engage the community and have the community help kind of do this artwork, and also bring in a local artist, much like we did with our banner project. So it would be an ideal location to include this artwork where it is a high traffic area. Along with the projects we're recommending, we were in front of council on April 17th work session to discuss traffic cabinets and what a beautification program would look like. We got some great feedback from council that evening for moving forward and having a pilot program begin. The Commission would like to work with council over the next few months to really strategically identify locations where these cabinets would be placed and how to best meet the expectations for this project. So part of the plan tonight would be to request up to 5 cabinets be completed in fiscal year 18. And for funding for that program, we are going to utilize the Traffic Signal Asset Management Program. And the management program has the capacity to support the applied artwork method, the one that would be the painted or wrapped cabinets for this year. And that would be up to $3,000 per cabinet. We think, looking back on that work session, the wrapped cabinets were $1,500. The painted cabinets could be up to $3,000. After we get through fiscal year 18 and we look and see If this is successful, if council and commission are supportive of this and the community is supportive of this, we would come back in fiscal year 19 and then start considering multiple methods, looking at the screening and looking at the metal work. I know that there was a discussion about how we could strategically identify locations where that would best suit. And if that's the choice, then we would explore the funding sources to be able to do one of those more expensive methods. And finally, the project we're all very excited about. We're looking at the public art at the recreation campus. When I bring up the recreation campus, I'm referring to the recreation center, the aquatic center, and the 30-acre park that's going to be built. And the commission would really like for artwork to be included in this site that is multi-sensory, that actually is experiential, that really can engage the viewers as they come out to this site. Examples of this around are things with sound can be included with public art. These are musical swings. When you swing on them, they make music and songs. There's this gorgeous, this well-composed sculpture here, but it's actually a water pipe organ. That's why all these kids are congregating there, because they're playing music on that water pipe organ. It can be kinetic art. As you approach it, that it moves, it does something. You touch it, it can change. Maybe we use technology where you can use your digital device so that you can change the artwork. And it sometimes can be as simple as the artwork becomes something that you can actually play on. And so we want this public artwork to be iconic and memorable, but we also see it as an amenity at this new facility. So to be able to capture all these things, what we're requesting is that in fiscal year 18, we're requesting $50,000 for the artwork design. And what that would allow us to do is bring the artist on board to really work with the designers of the facility so that this artwork is fully integrated into the facility and it becomes a focal point or a centerpiece of this campus. We then also would be looking in fiscal year 19 for $385,000 to fabricate and install the artwork, for a total expenditure of $435,000 on that project. So this evening, we're asking Council's approval for the fiscal year 18 expenditures. Just to review those quickly, we are looking at $155,000 from the general fund to fund the Goodyear Mobile Museum, fire stations 186 and 181 at $40,000 each, $20,000 at Goodyear Community Park, and the art design for the recreation campus for $50,000. We also would be looking to do up to 5 cabinets at $3,000 per cabinet, and that would be funded for our asset management program. As part of the ordinance, the Commission also makes recommendations for their future projections for public art. And so as you can see here in fiscal year 19, we will be coming back to request that $385,000 to the recreation campus for the installation, fabrication and installation of the artwork. We'd also be working with council on the future of the traffic cabinet beautification project and what we would expect for the number of cabinets and the methods in which those cabinets would be enhanced. In fiscal year 20, we are not requesting any budget at that time because that funding has been advanced to FY19 so that we can complete the recreation campus. In fiscal year 21, we're requesting $60,000 to celebrate the 75th anniversary for Goodyear. And in fiscal year 22, we've earmarked $75,000 for that year with the project to be determined.
So as the chair of your council-appointed commission of volunteers, I want to thank you, Vice Mayor and Council, for your ongoing support for arts and culture. As a commission, we work closely with members of the community and city staff to create and establish Goodyear's identity as a vibrant and enterprising city. And so this is evidenced by our successful completion or near completion of our current projects, our vision for fiscal year 18, and then the years beyond.
And with that, Council, that concludes our presentation, and we'd like to open this up for questions.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Vice Mayor.
Would anyone from the audience like to speak? Seeing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve the fiscal year 18 annual public art plan as recommended by the Arts and Culture Committee?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Pizzillo and a second by Councilmember Osborne. Open for council discussion. We'll start with Councilmember Pizzillo.
I applaud the efforts of moving this program forward, and I'm looking forward to see what kind of reception you get, because obviously you want to kind of push the idea of the wraps, only because I think beautifying the city, art adds to, the city and the pride and what it says about your city, and again, just keep up the good work.
Councilmember Osborne?
Okay, a couple of questions. First of all, thank you. Very detailed, and I appreciate it. It's kind of funny that we're actually here being able to talk about, real things compared to the past years that, we were lucky for really anything. First of all, the ZIZ, I know that we had funding, I think it was either coming up or this year, that was repairing the outer wall around it, correct, in maintenance. But now that the ZIZ itself is 10 years, is there something that we have to be watching over on maintenance of it itself? And maybe that doesn't come out of your budget, maybe that comes out of asset management's budget, but I was just concerned about that, making sure we were budgeting for it.
Vice Mayor, Councilmember Osborne, that's an excellent question. Yes, we are watching that because the ZIZ will need to be repainted. It is a fiberglass structure, and it does the UV of our sun. We have a very intense environment. It does fade that, and that will be coming up. Facilities has been watching that for us to make sure that we're not seeing any cracking or flaking of the paint, which we don't have any of that at this time. And at the time when we need to address the repainting of the ZIZ, we will explore what funding options are there to take care of that.
So within the last month, as we've been going through the budget process, we were looking at different things, either in the budget or CIP as it related to art. Were two new welcome signs within that budget? Because you didn't mention it here, so I wasn't sure if that's part of your budget again or somewhere else. But it was actual welcome signs, like the big ones.
Vice Mayor, Councilmember Osborne. Yes, the monument signs that you're referring to, those dollars are held in those public art project codes in there. That project is managed with multiple ways through engineering, and there's a lot of people that kind of work in on that.
So it's not gone. It's
still there, and those are identified on the best locations to suit the needs for the city.
Okay. The fire and water art on the fire station, what was the price tag on that? In comparison, when we're saying $40,000 for these next two fire stations,
it was a $45,000 expenditure, so we're very near. We're very near to that same cost that we're seeking for the two new stations.
Okay. Lastly, I don't know if you do this annually or if you've only done it one time, but you had incredible art booklets that it was Goodyear's kind of guide to art that was around the city. Those are excellent, and I think you should have those budgeted somewhat time. I don't know if you do that, so let me know. Are they annual? Was it just that one-time shot you did it? I think they were helpful.
I think they're wonderful, and they are a great tool for when we are at events and when we're just sharing our story. We are looking to have a new one produced. We have a lot of projects we were able to complete this fiscal year, and so we'll be able to kind of update that driving map and reproduce that and have those printed out, and so we are expecting to do that in our next fiscal year.
Okay. Now for the big one. So that's a lot of money for that next item, and I think that it does need to be interactive. I think that that's going to add to the experience of it. I think that you will find many more people appreciative of that price tag, knowing that they can actually entertain, engage, and enjoy that. So, I'm glad that you are coming to us with that request and kind of that parameter with it. So I know we'll hear feedback about that, but I think that you're going down the right direction in what you visualize for it. Thank you.
Councilmember Campbell?
I have a question to the city manager. Do they have $155,000 in their account? or is this request going to be something else out of our budget?
Vice Mayor, Councilmember Campbell, it's part of the proposed budget that will be coming for council's consideration on May the 22nd, so it will be within the tentative budget.
So well, what about they're supposed to get 1% of the construction tax, right?
So the ordinance allows for up to 1%. Up to 1% is the wording in that. In this case, and we are looking out for the 10-year CIP, what they have proposed to you tonight is within the proposed budget.
Within the proposed thing, so that we're not going over.
No.
Okay, my next question is, not question, but comment, for the $385,000 project, I'd only want to see it if we're going forward with our recreation campus. If we're not building it, I'm not in favor of giving you that money for you to build it when we don't even have our campus up and rolling. And I understand, I know you have to ask ahead, but that's all right. And my last comment is that I certainly hope that whatever artwork is selected for 181 and 186 enhances the neighborhood up better than the earth and the water and the fire in Pebble Creek, because it does not enhance our architectural look, and nor does the station. But it really doesn't blend in with the neighborhood at all. And art should be something that I think is pleasing and is part of the community. So depending on what you're going to do, it just would be interesting, since we don't know what kind of fire station we're going to even build, because it hasn't been decided yet. So perhaps your art commissioners could take that into consideration. The artwork that's at the Public Works with the bottles that no one ever sees is absolutely beautiful. And I'm so sorry it's stuck there, because our residents don't go to the Public Works yard to see it. And I think the folks in the dog park do. Maybe they get to look at it, but it really is a lovely
That's why
structure.
you need the pamphlet.
Yeah, really, so that we can show people we even have that. Because when I talk to people and say, well, have you been out to Public Works and seen this beautiful? And they'll say, what? Where? Uh-huh. And they don't have dogs, so they don't go out there. But it would be really interesting to see. So thanks.
Anything else?
Mm-mm.
Anything else? I just want to say I'm very excited for this. I think adding some of the art to our community adds a lot. And I do like the idea of bringing back the books, because I think that would be a great idea. I really like the school tie-in to give our kids a little bit of history about the city and everything. I think that's a great idea. And with the recreation campus, we've talked about it before, and I've always brought up like what's by the Space Needle, this giant piece of metal art that not just kids, but grown adults are climbing all over, and they were just having just a blast. And they had the musical pipe things going there, and then what we see here in Austin, there's just so much that can really almost be like a park feature itself. It's art, it's park. It's just, I'm very excited for this. So thank you for all your hard work, and thank the committee for all their hard work as well.
So, Vice Mayor, could I throw out a suggestion? Just the thought. I just remembered we did it for a park that we helped design. We sold tiles, little square tiles, and we had to design a tile day, and families came and decorated the tiles themselves, and they paid a slight fee, and we put it all around our wall. And it's been 35 years, and those tiles are still just as beautiful as the first day. But I was thinking maybe and rather than having an artist design what that wall is going to look like on the amphitheater wall, if you might consider having maybe as a fundraiser for you as well too, and have the community involved to do the tiles. But it's really fun, and it's just like your art chart in the park art.
You can't say that either.
It's hard to say. I'm tired. But the tiles themselves are really wonderful to do.
Suggestion.
So Let's have a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Thank you. So we're going to move on to 7.9. The last item on the business agenda is to consider authorizing the issuance of the Public Improvement Corporation Subordinate Lien Municipal Facilities Revenue Bonds. That's a mouthful for the last item. Doug Sundstrom, our finance director, will present.
Vice Mayor, members of the council, as you said, I'm here to talk about a Public Improvement Corporation Bank Loan Series 2017. This is a debt issuance for the purpose of allowing the Cleveland Indians to expand their current clubhouse. The item before you tonight is adoption of a resolution with an emergency clause to allow for the expeditious issuance of this by the end of the month. It authorizes the execution of all necessary documents, authorizes the negotiation and preparation of an amendment with the Cleveland Indians that will come back to the council on May 22nd for adoption. The bond itself would not be issued if that agreement does not come back to council and does not get approved by council, so it is pending that. And then it authorizes any required budget transfers. As I mentioned, the proceeds of this 2017 obligation would be used to fund and construct an expansion of the Indians Clubhouse. It's a project that the Indians approached the city on, and one of the things we discussed was ways that the city could assist this without any direct financial contribution, and the idea of using the Public Improvement Corporation came up. The Indians would be 100% responsible for all of the debt service through a rent agreement with the city. And we looked at also, we're going to be looking at a 10 and a 15-year term that we'll get into in a little bit. That 10-year term is within the time period of their current lease. If we were to go to the 15-year term, it would require an execution of one of the 5-year extensions so that the term of the loan is in a period covered by the lease. For a project overview, I do have Ryan Lance here with the Cleveland Indians who will come up and go over a little bit of what the specifics of the project are. It is a 16,000 square foot expansion, and again to remind you that the Indians will be paying 100% of all costs associated with issuing the loan and the annual debt service. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ryan Lance, who will walk through the project for you.
We saved you for the 9 o'clock hour.
My wife thanks you. I just click down here. Okay, perfect. Well, thanks, Doug, and thank you, Vice Mayor and Council, for allowing me a few minutes to brief you on this exciting project. It's kind of hard to believe that this upcoming spring we will be celebrating a decade of Major League Baseball in Goodyear, and what a ride it's been so far. We've welcomed our 1 millionth fan through the gates. We've established new attendance and revenue records just this past year, enjoyed back-to-back seasons of record-breaking sold-out games, and we as a team have had an incredible postseason run all the way to one of the most memorable Game 7s in World Series history. What do all these things have in common? Well, they all happened in Goodyear. It's not a coincidence that all of that hard work and effort that our players and coaches put in that took them to the World Series last year started in Goodyear at our player development complex. It's not a coincidence that as a result of the amazing season our team had, let me rephrase that, Goodyear's adopted team had, with all due respect to the hometown Diamondbacks, that we were able to substantially increase revenues in all facets of our operation. It's also not a coincidence that we set a new average per game attendance record and drew the most fans through the gates outside of our inaugural season, which actually featured 2 more games in 2009. At the end of the day, though, winning on the field results in winning off the field, and that specifically benefits the Goodyear community in so many ways. Winning brings out more Ohioans, mainly Cleveland Indians fans, to Goodyear every spring to watch their team get ready and enjoy everything this wonderful community has to offer at the absolute best time of year, all while shopping, eating, and sleeping locally. But it's also important to realize that in order for us to keep this winning formula going, we need to continue to provide our players and staff those tools to win. And that's what brings me here this evening. Roughly 3 years ago, a year after Terry Francona took over as manager of our team, a few of us within the organization went to the drawing board on putting together a master plan on how we can improve the player experience for the development complex in Goodyear, much like we've done in Cleveland with all of the recent renovations and upgrades to Progressive Field. As most of you probably realize, when an organization gets a new leader or in our case, a new manager, as we did back then, this person brings on new staff as well as new ideas and new philosophies. The simple fact of the matter is if you're not evolving or looking at ways to improve as an organization operationally, you're dying. And the chances of you being successful and beating your competition are slim to none. So first, let me start off there. As we look at ways we can improve the player development experience in Goodyear, we did so with these 4 objectives in mind, which are shown in the first slide. A comprehensive strength and conditioning program, an increased and holistic approach to nutrition and hydration, and a focus on collaboration across all of our coaches and staff. And lastly, how to best accommodate the large growth we've experienced of staff in place during spring training. From these objectives, we've prioritized on this second slide the operational needs that you can see here. An expanded strength and conditioning space, major league kitchen and dining room, equipment room, and front office staff workspace are just a few of the more notable areas of need. Obviously, I'm sure those in the room are thinking this is great. Meeting these needs will benefit the team, but exactly how does it benefit Goodyear? And that's a great question, one I hope to answer in this next slide. Again, I personally believe it goes back to my earlier comments as it relates to providing our players with the winning tools and environment they need to go out there and win on the field. The residual benefit is experienced both in Cleveland and even more so in Goodyear when Indians fans from all over the country descend upon Goodyear in February and March to take in spring training action. That means eating in our local restaurants, shopping in our stores, and sleeping in our hotels. Just as important, though, this type of project will allow us to host more staff, players, and visitors during spring training camp, as well as our off-season strength camps in the fall and winter, which ultimately enhance our year-round usage capabilities. Next, I would like to just provide you a brief overview of the project itself. From this slide here, you can see the existing building as it looks today and the overlay of the newly constructed area. A large majority of the project we are growing on the north side of the building where there is an existing 25-bay parking lot for staff. To dive a little deeper into it, this is what the first floor, the next 2 slides will eventually dive deeper into the newly designed areas on both the first and second floors. Some of these highlights feature a newly expanded weight room, which will more than double in size and feature a second floor cardio space for treadmills, bikes, and ellipticals. The space will be relocated to the northeast corner of the building. The existing weight room space will be retrofitted to accommodate a large team meeting space that we currently don't have, and an oversized conference room for improved collaboration between our minor league and player development staffs. The Major League kitchen and dining room will virtually triple in size, which is much needed as we're feeding close to 80 players alone on that side of the building, and we only have space for roughly 20 players to eat at one time in there currently. Moving further west in the building, you can see our Major League player clubhouse area will be reconfigured and expanded, and our Major League equipment room will grow in size as well, which will provide much needed additional climate-controlled storage for consumable products and equipment for our athletes, which is being stored outside right now. Moving on to the second floor, they will also double in size to provide much-needed workspace, offices, and conference room space for our baseball operation and analytics staff. Hard to believe, I'm sure, when in February and March it's snowing and 20 degrees in Cleveland that most people from our offices find their way out here to Arizona. Last slide here just kind of runs you through some of our key milestone dates. So you can see here construction, our current season right now, which we're in extended spring, will end June 10th. Demolition will begin the following week, June 15th. And then from there you can see when we take over minor league side and weight room side for occupancy and substantial completion of January 9th of 2018. Hopefully this has given you all a greater appreciation, a better sense of the importance of what goes on daily in between those walls at 2601 Southwood Boulevard and the magnitude of this project, as well as how the game has evolved, even within the last decade, when this project first came online and how we're planning ahead and future growth in developing the best possible athletes that we can so that we can continue to win on and off the field. With that, I would like to thank you once again for your time, as that concludes my part of the presentation. At this time, I'm happy to open it up to try and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
We'll save questions till we're down at the end here. Some key dates on the project, as Ryan stated, it is a 7-month project, and that's the construction timeline you see before you. Some of the items that are going on today and that have already went on is the financing of this. We did issue an RFP looking for banks to come in, bid on this. The size and the time frame of this is something that banks like to do as a direct purchase of a bond issue. We have those closing on May 10th. So on the 10th, we will see what the terms and the interest rates and so are for a 10-year and a 15-year usage. The facility use agreement is something that will be coming back to the council on the 22nd. It's something we will be finalizing and negotiating with the Indians, with our own staff as well, to make sure that, as Ryan said, this is an expanded facility, so there's a lot more capital and a lot of things. Some of the things we have to work out is how that fits within our facility use agreement, with who's responsible for it, who's responsible for the upkeep, the capital maintenance, and so on over the life of the 10-year agreement and beyond if it gets to that point. And that would come back to council on the 22nd. And then on the 31st is when the financing itself would actually be closed. And that, again, is dependent upon approval of the agreement on the 22nd. The Public Improvement Corporation itself, as I said, is out seeking proposals right now from banks. About $11 million all in is what we are looking at on this. It will come in lower than that, but we have an $11 million cap. Proposals are for a 10 and 15-year period. And again, 100% of all debt service and related costs will be paid by the Indians through a lease payment equal to annual debt service. There has been some minimal staff time spent on this, and there will be on an annual basis a very small amount of time. Because this is a taxable issuance, because of the private use of it, there's a far less in the terms of disclosure and so on that staff would have to work on in the future. And then finally is, again, the adoption of the resolution, which will give us authorization to enter into any documents to execute the loans, authorization to negotiate a agreement with the Indians that would come back on the 22nd, as well as authorize all budget transfers. With that, I will open up to any questions for myself, for Ryan Lance, and I also have our financial advisors and bond counsel present as well if we would like to ask them questions.
At this point, though, we're going to take a short break. Not to keep you here till 10, but we do have an administrative issue. About 10 minutes, you said?
Yeah, and Vice Mayor, what I may suggest is if there are questions, let's go ahead and
do that part.
And field those now while we have the
okay.
participants here. And then we'll get back with you on the administrative matter in just a few minutes.
Okay. Are there any speaker cards? Would anybody from the audience like to speak? Can we go ahead and do the motion then? Or we can't do the motion until we have
but you can do questions.
Okay, let's just go ahead and we'll kind of reverse it. We'll do questions. Yes, Councilmember Pizzillo.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate you bringing that up because typically we get the project before we go out for the bond so that we at the city council kind of understand what we're voting on. So the fact that you mentioned that we still have one more shot here at it, which is going to be the 22nd agreement. If that agreement is not agreed to by the council, then the bond sales will not go through. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Another question I have is, my understanding there's a 10% policy dealing with general fund debt service being funded by, debt service being funded by general fund. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Okay, it doesn't talk about pass-throughs or anything along those, it just talks about that limit. This would go against it, I would assume, right?
This would apply towards that 10%,
okay.
Correct.
I don't think we're there yet, okay, but I'm trying to do a balancing sheet between value, city, value, Indians, because I think it's really important that we get them successful. But here's kind of where I'm coming from, because I believe when you talk about the city money versus Indian money, I think the value, and you correct me if I'm wrong, using city money is we can probably get the money cheaper than if they went out and bought it commercially. Okay. Also, I think there's a tax benefit here as well, because if we turn it into a lease, then they can write the entire amount out, where if they took their own money, they'd have to capitalize all that work, and they'd have to depreciate it over the life of whatever it is. So there'd be incremental versus the other. So there's some value there in doing it. That's why this is what I would like to see, and I just passed on the Indians, and I think he knows where it's coming. I would like to see the 15-year. I think it creates a win-win. from a partnership standpoint and tying it to our debt service of the 25. That's what I would like to see. And I think we both win on that. It helps the city lock down the 25 years because, that we're going to be jumping to about $9 million a year on debt service very soon, all the way through. So our deal right now runs 20. So that means from 20 to 25, if we could lock down the 25, that kind of assures for somebody in the future, I know I won't be here then, that we have a set amount. And at the same time, we've provided some tax benefits, some cheaper loan, and then we ensure that our partnership is more solid. That's where I'm kind of coming from on there, what I would like to see, because I think we've got a very strong partnership, but the win-win to me would be the 15-year deal to lock the two together. And I think Ryan can appreciate where I'm coming from a finance standpoint. It's got nothing to do with the Indians and the partnership because it's a very strong partnership, but I would really like to see that lockage to the 25. That's all I have.
Councilmember Campbell.
Ryan, I have a couple of questions from you, please. I noticed that you said your rehab players are going to be able to use the Reds facilities. The rehab part.
We're still working through
Well,
that
I
with the
hope
Reds
so.
right
I
now.
hope that'll
Yeah.
work.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That would be great. What are you going to do with everyone while you're doing all this stuff? I know
it's a great question.
Yeah, where are they going?
So we are actually working with Bruce Kessman, and we are going to be moving up to the ballpark during that time. As you know, our extended spring training season ends on the 10th, and then we actually start with our next season on June 15th, and that's welcoming out all of our rookies that are drafted out of the Major League Baseball draft, which takes place that second week in June. So they have to have a place to play. So we're going to be using different areas of the ballpark, both clubhouses, as well as some of the conference room space, and just getting creative with the weight room is going to actually move up to the team shop because that's completely empty. So yeah, that's what our plan is right now until construction is complete or substantial construction, which they're telling us right now is about November 6th.
Okay. Well, we're really glad you're able to utilize something.
Yeah.
And you don't have to completely shut down while the construction goes on. So we're excited. And yes, I do want your dining room bigger because it is very tiny. I've seen it a million times, and the players are on top of themselves hardly.
A lot of big boys.
Yeah, they are. And they love to eat.
They do.
So, and my next question is, whenever do you feel that this expansion will take care of your needs for possibly the next 10 years or 5 years? I mean, it's hard to say, but
yeah. It's like anything else. I mean, it's just amazing to see how the game has evolved, even since my time in it. I mean, when I started, we were serving players hot dogs and hamburgers, and now it's like really driven, like nutrition-driven type of meals, and just this new holistic approach. So, no, we have sat through and really kicked the tires in this project for about, honestly, 3 years, and we wanted to plan ahead, saying, "Hey, we get one shot at this."
Yeah.
We all realize that. And I never thought in my wildest dreams when we moved out to Goodyear that we would use this entire facility the way we have, and it's worked out beautifully. I mean, we've kind of filled up space quicker than we ever thought. But no, to answer your question, I think there's always going to be things you wish you did differently, and I think I kind of really take a step back and say it's just like moving in a new house. And once you're in there for a few months, you're like, God, I wish I would have done this differently.
Yeah.
I look at our new house, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have done this, or wish I would have done that. And you can't really you don't have that opportunity again until a few years down the road. And so I think for us, this is just that time. We took a step back after we moved in the facility and said, yeah, we probably need to do these things just for future growth and for our players and development needs. So, but I think this covers for us a good chunk of what our needs are right now. So, yeah, I can see this definitely satisfying the need for the next 10, hopefully 15 years.
Well, we're really excited that the Indians have decided to enlarge their facility. It's a win for you, and it's a win for us because it just means you're going to have more people coming out and more folks visiting, and so we're just really excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Osborne?
Thank you. Well, Ryan, I tell you, first of all, I need to add to your list, that last slide. You left out win the World Series next year. I just wanted to throw that out there, okay? As a business, I can say that this is an awesome tool that is available to you. And I'm glad that we have that and you're able to, use it. And that's exciting. I understand where Councilmember Pizzillo is coming from. this is stretching us on our debt ratio and what we talk about policy-wise. It is a pass-through, and I'm glad we're able to do it. And we have welcomed the Indians and the Reds for, the last 10 years. And I would welcome you even more for another 5 years. So, I think we should add that extra 5. So I think you need to really think about that, okay?
Well, that is above my pay grade, but
I
I will
understand.
carry that message back to
gonna
Mr.
say,
Dolan
I
and all those people in Cleveland that are
I think we're in this together, and I think that, as Joe pointed out, there's a lot of benefit for you being able to use this tool, and I really think that you do make a great, powerful entity for us in our city, but I think that it would be great goodwill to extend that extra 5 years.
Yeah, and I can appreciate definitely where Councilman Pizzillo is coming from. I think if we weren't interested in staying long-term at the city, we wouldn't even entertain this type of a project.
Of course.
So
I
because
agree.
this is something that, this only comes along once every 10 years, but this is a powerful recruiting tool, I will tell you, to free agents. I mean, when they come in to a facility like that we're creating, it's evolving like it is, that is a serious consideration as far as what team they want to go to. And having something like this, another state-of-the-art facility, and just adding to how great that complex is right now, this is only going to help.
Well, and what
us
a reward coming off of this last season for
Yes,
them,
absolutely,
that
yep.
they're being shown how well they're thought of.
Absolutely,
So
yep.
I appreciate it. Actually, that's about all I have. Thanks.
And I'll just let you know that I support this. I think it's a very good idea, and I do see that you guys are putting a very large capital investment of your funds that I honestly don't see you walking away in 10 years. If you come back with the 15, that's good. I'm okay with the 10. I think that's kind of where you are. If you come back with it, wonderful. If not,
I'm pushing for the 15.
I just don't see you walking away from that type of investment. We're just passing through the money. I think is a good way to think about it. It's the funds of the Indians that will be there. We do need to have a little nook so you can put the trophy next year, though. Build that in. But I think it's very good. And like you said, sports has changed a lot just in the last several years. When you hear it, it's almost like a computer level, how they program everything anymore. So I'll be very excited to see it when it's all open and see it as a year-round facility and everything. So I think that's great. I think we might still be waiting. Do we still need?
Hold on 1 second. I'll confer with the attorney.
Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council, just realized that there's an emergency clause attached to the ordinance or to your action this evening. Under the Arizona statutes, that requires a 3/4 vote of the members of the legislative body. You don't have enough votes here tonight to pass it with the emergency clause. Otherwise, it triggers the 30-day referendum process. So you have to have that 30 days for it to be referred. That won't make you to your closing date. So there's one of two options. We can either try to get 2 other council members on the phone tonight. You need 2 more. Or we can call another meeting next Monday, and when we have 6 council members.
We have to have 6 out of the 7?
You need 6 affirmative votes.
And Mr. Attorney, we could also we have to notice it at least 24 hours, so it's something we could not do tomorrow. We could possibly even do it Wednesday. My question, can this be done telephonically with council members? Yes. So if that's an option too, we can look at your schedules to make sure we have 6 that would be able to, at least 6 to vote on this.
And could we vote by phone if we did it on Wednesday? So if I'm somewhere, I could step out and vote so I could count.
Well, obviously we have to do.
No luck getting anyone. I know you've been.
I think we're trying on the phone right now. So if that's working, we might be able to do it. Maybe take 10 minutes and let's figure out where we're at.
You want to see if we can take 10 minutes so y'all don't have to come back?
Get Sherilyn on the phone and the
Get
mayor.
Sherilyn and the mayor on.
That's what we're trying to do right now.
Because Bill's like 2 hours different.
We could wake Bill up.
Yeah.
I'll let you make that call.
Tell Bill to get up.
So we can take like a brief recess, so we'll see where we're at. Sorry about that.
All right.
Oh, well, I guess.
Vice Mayor, it's your direction. We can finish up the rest of the agenda
Can we go
if
ahead
you
and
like.
just skip this and come back? So we're
We
not
can
just
come back to
wasting-
this so we can get through the rest of the agenda, which is council's comments, manager's comments.
Let's do that so we're not just sitting around.
Exactly.
It's getting late. You can stand for it if you want. Just don't leave. Okay, well, we will table that for a few minutes while they work out the administrative issue. Let's see, does council have any comments, commendations, or reports or current events? Want to start down with Wally?
Okay. Well, I don't really have any current events, but I do want to make a couple of comments, if I might. I would like to thank the city manager for giving me the list of the required or the requested repairs for Fire Station 183 and sharing it with all of our council. And I want to thank you for telling me we will now have a fire station asset management program, which apparently we didn't have. And I didn't realize we weren't checking out the fire stations yearly or quarterly or something to see what needed to be done. And I feel really bad that a lot of the repairs that they're asking for should have been done in the last years past, but I didn't ask about it. And sometimes I ask too many questions, but I do thank them for that. And hopefully we'll be able to be on top of that, because no one goes in the fire stations and see if they need to be painted or the new carpeting or whatever they need. And now they are to the point where they are requesting $1 million of repairs, which they need to have. And we just need to be more proactive for them, because they're not a forgotten child, even though they're in a station rather than a building, because we check all of our buildings and we paint them and we do landscaping and all that. So anyway, and then, Mr. City Manager, I am requesting from you that you work with our city clerk to ensure that this council is notified in a timely manner when campaign finance reports are done, and we do not get a notice 4 or 5 days before it's due. I understand it's done only as a courtesy, but in checking with other cities today and the Secretary of State's office, the clerk is our direct conduit for that type of reporting. We don't have anyone else that has that information that can share it with us. And we don't call the Secretary of State's office monthly or weekly to ask what are we supposed to be doing. They notify all of the clerks in the state of certain deadlines. And it would be helpful, because when this occurred last week, I was out of state without knowing this was done or had to be done. And for a couple of days, without the support of Jessica, I was very frantic, thinking I was going to pay a fine every day until I came back into Arizona so that I could look at my campaign bank account and find out if I had any expenditures, because I did not remember. So it's something that we are required by state law to do. We have to do it, and it just would help us if, when her office is notified, we are immediately notified. Because I understand it's a courtesy of her doing it to us, but we are the elected body, and we have to depend on staff to take care of notifying us when things are due or required, and then it's on our shoulders to get it done. And I just would like to know that you will be on top of it and we won't ever have this again, because this was just, it just was over the top as far as I was concerned.
Vice Mayor, Councilmember Campbell understood. I will confer with the city clerk.
Thank you.
Councilmember Osborne?
Thank you. So a couple of things. We had a couple of exciting things happen for our city. First of all, on the 27th, Adelante had their groundbreaking to add to our whole healthcare campus, and that was pretty awesome because where we had our previous park and ride where we shared that parking area for. Before we had our permanent park and ride facility, that's where they're going to be building this new healthcare campus. And it's just really exciting to see that to continue to grow. But also with healthcare, our very own Stan Holm last week was recognized as from the Arizona Business, AZ Business, Big Business, or something like that. They recognized him as being the healthcare executive of the year.
Oh,
and
how
that's
nice.
Yes, and that's
Very nice.
our very own Stan, and that was really exciting to be there. We also I attended Friday. Mabel Pageant became an A+ rated school, and that's exciting to have within our city. And we know that we're always, as companies come here, they ask us, how are our schools? How's education in Arizona? So I really appreciated that. We have a lot of good things in our city, and not always those good stories get told. And so even though sometimes staff's the only one that hears it, at least you guys are hearing some more of the other good things that happen in our city. Thanks.
Councilmember Pizzillo? I just have two things to add there. Yeah, the Adelante was great. The blessing was just absolutely phenomenal. And there were two things that a lot of us attended. One was the Youth Connections Derby event, Homeless Youth. That was absolutely wonderful. A little windy, but it was wonderful. And then the other was up in Estrella, and I have to give a shout out to Nathan and Dave and everyone who from Parks and Recs that worked on it. It was the Estrella Foothills Community Park up there. The playground equipment is just absolutely wonderful. I know they have to finish up the wall and some touching, but if you haven't had the chance to go up there, it's absolutely wonderful. It's very well needed. I want to thank the council for all getting on board because it was a need up there that was really missing in that one area. So I do appreciate that. So I guess we'll move on to comments from the manager.
Before I do comments for the manager, we were able to get two of our council members joining us telephonically. As city clerk returns, she will be reading the motion for your consideration.
Oh, sorry. So will the city clerk please read resolution, I'll make sure I got the right resolution here, 171801 by title only.
Thank you, and I wanted to make sure that Mayor Lord and Councilmember Holman are on the phone.
Yes, this is Mayor Lord, and she is on the phone.
Oh, golly.
Councilmember
This is
Holman?
Carolyn Holman, and she's on the phone.
Thank you for confirming. Adopt Resolution 17-1801, approving an agreement, a trust agreement, an agency agreement, and related documents pertaining to the City of Goodyear Public Improvement Corporation, the corporation, authorizing the issuance of the corporation's subordinate lien municipal facilities revenue bonds, taxable Series 2017 for the purpose of expanding and refurbishing the city's baseball stadium facilities, pledging the city's excise taxes on a subordinate basis towards certain payments due to the corporation under the agreement, authorizing the taking of all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transactions contemplated by this resolution, and delegating certain duties and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Osborne, a second from Councilmember Campbell. Can we have a roll call vote?
Is there any other discussion?
I'm sorry.
We did it before.
We already did
We're
our discussion.
good? Okay.
Yeah.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Holman?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lortano?
Aye.
Did I miss anybody?
Mm-mm.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Get well.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was an important vote. Thank you for calling.
Good night.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Homan.
Good night.
That's dedication. Now we'll move on to the city manager.
Yes, Vice Mayor and Council actually have several comments. I'll try and be brief. The charter does call for us anytime we bring on a new director, to introduce them to the council, and it's my privilege to be able to do that tonight with our new Chief Information Officer, Alan Claypool. He will have direct responsibility for what is known as our Information Technology Services Department. So Alan started last Monday, and he completed our Goodyear employee orientation, which is 4 days of the 5-day week. So he had an opportunity to really learn more about Goodyear. But he comes to us from Arizona Public Service most recently as Architecture and Technology Director since 2015. As a former commander, the largest communications squadron as the Chief of Global Data Systems. So Alan directed the United States Air Force's largest ever fiber upgrade, directed operations for multiple networks, implemented IT governance, project manager for implementation of data centers, as well as enterprise architecture strategies. So after the Air Force, a successful career in the military, he then went on to work for municipalities. He worked for the city of Tampa, as well as city of Austin. In Austin, it was with their energy company. So with Tampa, it was 350,000 citizens. So it's one of the nation's largest cities. It's about 55th, I think, in ranking. He supported 41 different departments, including public safety, finance, human resources, parks and utilities. And then that was for Tampa. At Austin Energy and APS, he introduced new protocols for reorganization, contract management, stewardship. Point of all this is he has a tremendous history of both management and leadership. So one of the things I do want to point out as well, he has a bachelor's degree in computer science and a master's in business management. So not only does he have a wealth of background, he has an infectious enthusiasm as well. So it is my privilege to introduce Alan Claypool. Excited that he's part of our team. And Alan, if you'd like to come up and say hi, it'd be your opportunity to do so.
Council, good evening. It's been a pleasure to join this team. It's a beautiful city, and I look forward to getting to work.
Welcome aboard. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan.
Anything else from the city manager?
Yes, I do have a couple more announcements. I do want to advise that this past Tuesday we had our public open house on the budget. A good gathering. So it was a nice turnout. We had several that went through the LEAD program as well. And the thing that we liked about it, we kept it informal. So it was an open house. We had a lot of boards set up explaining the budget and also some of the efficiencies. And having that one-on-one opportunity with the citizens was very well received by them. And we were able to answer a lot of questions. So our next step on the budget, again, is May 22nd. We'll bring the tentative budget and financial policies to council. Do you have another announcement? I'll get you more details, but this is bragging time. It's the Desert Dog Canine Trials, so that was just on May 6th and 7th. A Goodyear Police Department canine unit competed in this at Sloan Park in Mesa. 57 teams were in this from Arizona, California, Mexico. So this isn't just another day at the park. So each team competed in explosive or narcotic detection, area searches, building searches, tactical challenges. So a lot of technical part of this. And Goodyear officer Jared Jordan and Canine Basco, short for Tabasco, won first place in top team, which is a total score for all events.
Awesome.
Yes, that's amazing. And Officer Mike Miller with K-9 Toby and Jared Jordan with K-9 Basco won first place for top patrol agency for total score for all events.
Oh, awesome.
So another great. And we had other places 2nd through 6th throughout the day. So incredible work by our team, and just very appreciative and thankful for the amount of talent we have there in our canines. The other, we had the Foothills Community Park Playground Community Build. I'll provide more information on that, but we did have Boy Scout Troop 90 that assisted with at a true community event. We had 40 volunteers that showed up. And really a great opportunity to be the last of our parks that did not have playground equipment, because for this one up in Estrella was slotted to be part of phase 2, and due to council's action, this current budget, you were able to bring that on board much sooner. So congratulations. So with that, that's all the announcements I have. For follow-up, I did have the one item and conferring with the city clerk, and that's all I have for tonight.
And does council have any other inquiries or future items? No, I think we're good. Our next meeting is actually going to be a work session and meeting on May 22nd at 5 p.m. So we are adjourned.
So we don't meet next week?